Good evening, Patriots. You're listening to RedPill78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News for Friday Night Livestream, Ides of March edition. How is everyone in the audience tonight? I want to say thank you very much to everyone who's here. We've got lots of people in the audience. I need to make this chat just a little bit bigger. I need to thank Jeff Stewart already for loving with that super chat. Jeff, thank you very much. He says POTUS signed the veto on 315 at 342. That's right. How did Anons know? Here we go. Everyone is here. We've got people from Australia, Texas, Tallahassee, Centralia, Washington, Louisiana, Illinois, the UK, Illinois again, lots of Illinois, Florida, Charleston, South Carolina. Hello, everyone. I am so glad you're with me tonight. It has been a big week. It's been a big day. It's been crazy. You guys, I'm going to throw on that slow mode so that I can take a look at these comments as they're going by. We got Michigan, Seattle, Missouri, California, Pennsylvania, Nebraska, Scotland, Southern Oregon, Philadelphia, Maryland, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Mississippi, Arizona, the Republic of California, Fort Worth, Texas, New Jersey, Oregon, New York. Happy Ides of March. That's right. Q sent me with the super chat. Thank you very much for that super chat Q sent me. Alberta, Canada, regular Canada, Kentucky, Chi-Town, Florida, Fields, Oregon, Olga from Tasmania, Australia, San Diego, Arizona, Baltimore, Mr. Charles, thank you very much. You guys, I did throw on slow mode. It is going so fast, though, you guys. I don't want to stifle the conversation too much, but I do want to be able to read this. You guys, I'm going to change it from 30 seconds to 45 seconds. Please, guys, don't be mad at me. I just want to be able to see you guys typing to me. Nevada, Oklahoma, Washington, Scotland clan, that's right. The Wallaces, Oklahoma, Alabama, No Sleep Anonces. Thank you for bringing credit on. That's right. Cynthia Pappas, thank you for that super chat. Australia, California, Las Vegas, Southeastern Michigan, Virginia, Houston, Texas. Man, Howell, Michigan, Boston, Idaho, North Carolina, Rhode Island. Truth Fairy in the house says, love you, Red. I love you too. Thanks for that super chat. Magic number right there. Man, we have a lot of people here tonight, you guys. And that's awesome because it was a huge news day. I'm only showing 684 people in the chat, but everybody must be typing all at the same time. Valerie Moore, thank you so much. Zach says, prayers please for my brother. Hit and run bicycle accident in Philly Tuesday night, currently in ICU. God, Zach, I am so sorry. Larry Thompson watching from Antarctica. Watkins Glen, Nevada. Zimbabwe. We've got Africa in the house. Jennifer Losteen, love you too. Bubba Manley. You said 50, buddy, but you sent $1.99. If you meant to do that, that's fine. There should be a slider, a bar that you slide it across to go ahead and change that amount. Where is the missing SCOTUS? Peapod, I did get your tweet earlier, but I got like a million tweets today. Millions of tweets today. Seavine is here. That's right. South Carolina. Oh, man, you guys. Please, you guys, do me a favor before we get started. If you would be so kind. Lift the Veil is here. Is this the same Lift the Veil? Is this Nathan Stoltman? Nathan Stoltman in the house, Utah. Praying for Zach's brother, you guys. We've got lots of people we need to pray for right now. This is a crazy day. Methods, hey, my crack researcher Methods is in the house. Methods, check out the big brain on Methods, you guys. John Medeiros, thank you very much for that super chat, my friend. Do appreciate that. Rocket, don't stop. Jennifer Lowenstein, that's right. Do not stop rocking. What do you guys think? Did we deliver on the MAGA promise today? What do you even think's going to happen tomorrow? That one guy, thank you for that super chat. Bubba Manley, man, you figured it out, buddy. Thank you so much for that super chat. You're my friend, brother. Appreciate that. You guys are awesome. Please do me a favor, you guys. Share this broadcast. Hit that like button. The more people that hit that like button, the more likely it is that YouTube will recommend this live stream to people. Bubba, you're okay, man. Even if it was only $1.99, brother, everything works to help me be able to do this for you guys and do an even better job. I'm learning on the job. I'm figuring out how to make better videos, how to, get my information together, research, all of it, time, effort. But it's because I love you. This is what I have been called to do. This is my mission, and I just want to do it as good as I can do. Sour grapes, even sour grapes is on the Trump train today. Trump did do good today, man. I am happy that you see that, brother. Trump, in my opinion, has been doing good the whole time. But, he's playing a game. This is the greatest movie ever written. All right, you guys, we are watching this brilliant portrayal take place live in front of us. We are so lucky to be here. You guys, I am very, very excited. I have a special guest tonight. It is my friend, Old Craig Mason's Reasonable Conversation channel. We're getting Craig on the line right now. Just waiting for Craig to answer the phone.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here, Craig. Awesome, dude. I'm so glad you're here. How are you today?
Oh, it's great. It's a great day, as you were saying. It really feels like it's happening, and I'm feeling good.
Yes.
I think we're prepared, and it's just amazing how this is all going down.
Yes, that is so true. I have a couple people I need to say thank you to. Anastasia, thank you for that super chat. She says, truth will be revealed. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you for showing up, because if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't even be here doing this. I'm so blessed to have this platform and to be able to speak to you guys on a regular basis. And then also Jacob Johnson, he says, love what you do. Jacob, again, it's for you, brother. Thank you so much. So you guys, Craig Mason's Reasonable Conversation channel. Craig is a great analytical mind, all right? He puts together some really in-depth videos, and I really love Craig's point of view. So, Craig, what do you want to tell the audience about you?
About me, I don't know. I hadn't considered that too much. I was so excited to talk about what's going on. But basically, I found Q and this whole movement because I was just interested in what could possibly happen that could make the world nice again or great again. And it's amazing what's been laid out with the Q plan and how well thought out it is. And there's just no statistical possible way that Q is not working with Trump. Like, that argument, the evidence is just too compelling. The only thing people say that one could argue is that, oh, this is just some kind of psyop to keep us pacified. But the counter argument to that is, why is he laying out exactly the one thing that we need, which is public awakening, and how that happens and how they do it? And it's, as you said, it's like the greatest movie ever written, because he's giving us the key to moving forward and doing exactly what we all thought was basically impossible, but now it's happening.
Yes. It is incredible. Every day I wake up to better and better news. I don't think that anybody can accurately argue that Trump has us on some fishing expedition, because, like you said, even if it was to keep us occupied, they are really delivering. Like, we are seeing the things happen that we need to see happen. It's been gradual, okay? Maybe some people are impatient. Maybe they want it to happen faster. But, as soon as you realize that you're not in control, all right, it's not up to you. You have to allow these things to happen in the manner in which they need to happen. And that's the only way that it's going to work, and the more time you spend being frustrated or wishing that things were different, the more upset you're going to be. All right. Take a seat, sit back, look at what's going on. If you can objectively do that, then there's no way you cannot understand how important all of this is. And every move that's been made, how strategically organized it was.
Yeah, it's amazing. I don't know if you've ever I'm sure you've heard bits and pieces. At least I'm sure everyone that's been following this has heard bits and pieces of The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
Yes.
But yeah, he goes through exactly how you need to be patient and let your enemy tire themselves out. And I was watching this video. It was a very short, well documented summary of how the Revolutionary War went down.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like they were losing for a long time. And there was this one point where they were outnumbered and outclassed in terms of artillery, and they had so much less artillery, they just started leading them on this chase essentially to tire them out, carrying all their artillery with them, and then they got so tired that they could then destroy them. And so it's not exactly a one for one analogy, but they're letting them tire themselves out, make mistakes, and it all makes so much sense now. I wanted happenings a year and a half ago, and look, I'm sure everybody did
Yeah.
basically. But looking back now, it's amazing how much they've exposed themselves over the last year and a half. All the crimes they've committed that are coming out now, with all of the spying on Trump, the all of the testimony that came out this week saying they had basically no evidence at all for the Trump Mueller probe, and they have just dug their own grave. And it's amazing to see how stupid. He says these people are stupid.
Yes.
They got tricked so bad, and there's no going back from that. They got tricked so bad.
They have been so full of hubris and ego. They were unable to understand how badly they were being played. Like they have been so used to just being in total control and people not realizing what's been going on. But you're right, they are so exposed. They have been absolutely, completely, and there's no way to deny it. And for the people that are sitting there and complaining about this still and saying that it's not real, cues a LARP, I really think that at this point they have to be controlled opposition. They're getting paid to go out there and say that, or they're just completely ignorant and they're not willing to look at the facts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a bit of both of all of that going on, but
Yeah.
it is, I mean, it's just become so powerless. I remember getting on online forums many years ago, a decade ago, and, not necessarily participating that much, but being involved in the conversation or at least observing it a bit and seeing how easy it was to derail people off of the point of the conversation. We're realizing Q and this whole plan is teaching us to focus on the things that actually make a difference. They always want us, as he says, they want you divided by race, religion, class, all these things. And you could see these conversations even 5 years ago, just see how easy it was to get the generations to fight against each other or the political party names. And they would always have these wedge issues like gay marriage or anything else to keep us from actually seeing, oh, it's the secret club of people who write laws to help their 0.001% of the richest people in the world and keep you from seeing that. That's the real problem that nobody talks about. The Democrats, Republicans, they don't talk about any of that. They don't talk about all of these things they do to keep us tricked. It's all just a dog and pony show, and he's showing us that. So now,
Yes.
like you're seeing in Europe with the LFS, they're saying, no, we see through this nonsense and we've had enough. And the people, there's this great video you can find on YouTube. The guy's name is Larkin Rose, and it's called The Tiny Dot, the story of the tiny dot. And it shows how we outnumber them like tens of thousands. So it's like one tiny dot is their enforcers and the elites, and it's just this massive sea of bigger dots because they have to keep us asleep. Because if we wake up, then they have no power. The government and the deep state, the power they have on us is all in our minds.
Yes.
And they know that. And that's why public awakening is the greatest fear.
No, exactly. You're so right. I know the video you're talking about. We're going to go check it out real quick so that you can show it to other people. And what's sad is that until you really realize that, people are falling prey to going back into those old tropes. There's still, there's like still division like in this movement, even though people, are claimed to have been awakened. Maybe their mind has been cracked open a little bit. But you have to realize that it really is us against them. There's no two parties. Now that we have Donald Trump as the leader of the Republican Party, this is, still not very much, but for basically the first time in history that there has been some actual difference between the parties. And it's not even really the parties, it's just Donald Trump as the president and as the leader of the Republican Party. You look back through history, and it's a series of misdirects by both parties to keep people occupied, to stop them from actually taking a look behind the curtain and realizing what's going on and how we're being played against each other. Because, you're right. The difference is massive. They are, single digit percentage points, okay, to us, literally the rest of the world. And we have to realize that it's only by being united and focusing together against this common foe are we really going to be able to set ourselves free.
Yes, no doubt. And you mentioned people going back and, there's still being a bit of division and infighting in the movement. And I think that is pretty natural. I don't know what your experience is like or seeing other people go through the process of kind of getting red pilled, so to speak.
Yep.
And it's always, it's a bit back and forth before you finally accept it or changing your mind about anything. It's basically learning a new skill of learning how to view the world in this way. And the way the brain learns is by repeated spaced exposure and continuously revisiting. It's like the adage of a salesperson will tell you, sales isn't made on the first call. You have to continuously repeat what's going on to your own brain to understand what's going on. And then eventually the pieces start to fit together, and you start to really, and it starts to just take over your mind, and you understand it in a better way than when you just understand it intellectually.
Yep, very true, very true. I need to give a couple of shout-outs to some super chats here. First of all, Lesha, thank you very much for that super chat. My good friend Diana Davenport says, holy moly, I should have invested in more popcorn. I don't think that we could ever purchase enough popcorn for what's going on right now. I've been eating it all day. Mike Mullen says, on a mission from God. That's right. That's why we're all here. Truth Not Fiction Matters, my buddy from Truth Not Fiction Matters, Matthew. Great YouTube channel, folks. Thank you for that plug, Matthew. Appreciate that. Cosmic Shy says, love your show and Muffin and the crew. That's right. I've got all of the animals scattered around me right now. Silver Wolf says, thank you, Corruption Detector. Thank you, Silver Wolf. Sue Satterley says, holding my own in Minneapolis, Minnesota. How cold is it there right now, Sue? Is it getting warmer, or are you guys getting like the blowback from that cyclone blizzard that strangely hit the United States this week? Bertie Rogers just gave me a super chat. Thank you so much. Christine Seibel says, thank you, Red Pill. Hearts, love you too. And Triple Z says, patiently enjoying the show. And Thomas Murdoch just gave us a super chat. Thank you so much, Thomas. So there has been so much happening. Craig, I've got your channel pulled up. I don't know if you're watching the stream on mute right now.
Oh yeah, I see it. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So is there any particular video that you would suggest to people to go check you out? Anything that you're particularly proud of that we can tell people to check out after the show?
Well, what I do on the channel right now, currently, it kind of went through a lot of iterations. I just kind of started talking about whatever I thought was interesting that was going on. So the videos that are uploaded now are essentially a daily news rundown with kind of as it relates to our everyday lives at the beginning, or from a philosophical or scientific standpoint, whatever I think is relatable at the beginning, and then a rundown of the day's news from our favorite Anon or otherwise.
Yep.
And it started with talking about whatever. I'm actually I know there's some people from Illinois in the chat. My earlier videos were about the downfall of Illinois, essentially, because I don't know where you're out of California. Oh, so you're in a state has some financial problems as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my first videos were about Illinois, and just that it wasn't changing. I live in Idaho now, but then I kind of talked about Bitcoin a lot, and I don't know if anyone is interested in Bitcoin. I see you take Bitcoin donations, but
yeah,
I have. If you're interested in that, I would recommend finding the video that I have. You can see it there at the bottom. It says "Interesting Conversations with Craig Wright,"
okay,
who people say he's a fake, but he's like a very brilliant guy, and I think he really is Satoshi Nakamoto.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, the inventor of Bitcoin.
Yes.
Okay, tell us why you think he's Satoshi Nakamoto. And for everybody that's watching this, Satoshi Nakamoto is the individual who started this original blockchain and invented Bitcoin, and he is, completely anonymous. People have been trying to guess his identity for years. So I'm very interested, Craig. Why do you think he is Satoshi Nakamoto?
Oh, I'm glad you're interested in this because it's kind of a wild story. Well, he claims to be now, and people say that he's not. He doesn't want to actually prove it though, because there could be a lot of legal ramifications from doing so. But it's actually you and the people watching this might appreciate this on a different level, because there's actually a board on the forums, you may know,
Mm-hmm.
that digs deep into the Fed and the whole monetary system. Because you may recall our favorite Anon said gold gold shall destroy the
Yes.
Fed, something to
Yes.
that
Yes.
note. It was kind of in a strange cadence he wrote it, but if you look into the history of Dr. Craig Wright, he has ties from both his father and his uncle into military intelligence,
Okay.
and there's a whole host of other coincidences that happened. I can't tell you off the top of my head at the moment because they're quite deep, but they're very similar to what's going on with our favorite Anon. But the the chairman of the Federal Reserve right now, Jerome Powell,
Yep.
he has said that he likes Bitcoin. He has no problem with it, and his one of his two senior advisors that he appointed right away, John Faust. If you read his writings, he writes in this very strange way. I've never encountered anybody writing this way before, but he kind of will put a headline on something that tells you the opposite of what he's trying to convey. And if you but actually read what he says, he'll say, "Oh, there's all these problems with Bitcoin, and it can't work unless you're willing to pay the price of this inefficiency that actually ends up making it a mutable peer-to-peer ledger." And so there's people inside the Fed that know about Bitcoin on a very deep level. It's a very complex subject, Bitcoin,
Yes.
and I've been studying it for 2 or 3 years now, and I just learned more and more about it. And Dr. Craig Wright, one of the reasons I think he is Satoshi is because he understands it on a level that is just amazing. That he's been talking about it for a very long time, and he it's kind of a future proofs past thing where he'll say something and people say, "Wow, you're crazy," like Trump saying they spied on me, and then you'll find out 6 months or 8 months or a year later that he was dead on 100% right, and he knew it the whole time, and nobody believed him. Like he said that Bitcoin can't scale. I don't know if you've heard about this whole scaling debate,
No.
but I won't get too far into it. But basically, there was a deep state takeover of the Bitcoin development via this company called Blockstream. Their
Mm.
logo even has some symbolism in it, and there's ties deep into the banks, deep into Bilderberg, and they took it over, and they basically got these people who were willing to do whatever they said, shield essentially,
Yep.
took over the development and basically threw sand in the engine and said, Bitcoin doesn't work. We have to develop this new system and make it so. They took away its ability
Mm.
to be the great thing that it is, which is digital peer-to-peer cash and a mutable ledger of that you can send to anyone else, any amount of money, anywhere in the world, essentially instantly. And they said, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And then eventually they kind of broke off to Bitcoin Cash, and
Yes.
the same thing happened to that. They said, oh, it can't go any higher than this. We can't scale it. And Craig Wright was saying, here's how we're going to do it. Here's what's going to happen. Bitcoin is so much more than you know, and now it just continues to scale, and he's continuing to be proven right over and over again. There's this massive. It's just like with Trump, you don't catch flack if you're over the target.
Mm-hmm.
There's this massive campaign of people that just hate him, say he's a fraud, use not arguments against him. And I'm not saying this is not investment advice, of course, but I find him, and I came to it skeptically because I didn't know him, and people say a lot of bad stuff about him. But if you listen to what he says, it makes a lot of sense. Just like if you think about what's going on with Q and you look past the programming of what people say, or the common, even just not programming, just the common understanding of how things are, it's quite amazing to listen to the things he has to say.
That's awesome. Yeah, somebody else that's a friend of mine that's into Bitcoin was talking to me about this digital ledger that they have developed so that it's like a means for anyone to send any type of crypto. I don't even understand it, but I mean, it's like it creates a record so that you can send like Bitcoin or like any type like XRP, whatever it is, through this ledger, and then it goes into it, and then people have the ability to get the money right away, or you can send like regular cash through this system. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've heard about Bitcoin is the idea that it's like there's like a finite amount of Bitcoin, and so now it's been gobbled up by so many early adopters. So it kind of like stops anybody that really wants to get into it now at this point. But is that Craig's argument that that's not the case?
Well, there's two key points I think you hit on there that to what Craig would say, or what I would say anyway, that I think that would be that makes sense to me anyway is in terms of getting in early and it's been gobbled up by all the early investors. The thing is that the Bitcoin is forked several times, and through these iterations, it has nobody believes it. So, you have Bitcoin BTC, which is $3,900 or something like that, and that's the one that's been totally stymied by essentially what is the deep state, and it doesn't work. It's not going to scale. It's basically, in my opinion, kind of useless. And then you have Bitcoin Cash, which has changed the Bitcoin protocol. That forked off of Bitcoin. Bitcoin Cash did, and then you have that, and that got taken over as well by people that were kind of ideological, in my opinion. And that's only $150 for Bitcoin Cash. And then the same thing happened again last November. And then you have Bitcoin Satoshi's Vision now, which is $67 or $64, something like that. So actually, it's funny. This is another interesting anecdote about Craig Wright, is that his name on Twitter is @Professor Faustus. And I don't know the history of Faust or Faustus, but he's essentially, and it's funny because the Anons on the boards figured this out before he acknowledged it. But they said, I wonder if he's doing this. I wonder if because he says that he's like, I won't use the pejorative terms he used, but he acknowledges that he's like not a nice guy. Like you can guess terms that people might call him. And he says, yeah, I know I am. And so one time he pointed out, he just pasted the screenshot of literary criticism of whatever the character Faust is from.
Yeah.
And he said that the character in that basically sacrificed himself to spread knowledge to people. And he's basically said, the reason I do this, the reason I'm so prickly to people is because I want people to see not my character, not like me because I'm charismatic, but agree with my arguments and see past it. So only the people who see past the nonsense will get on board with this. And so you've created, originally Bitcoin was only going to be, it originally started out with like kind of the libertarian cypherpunk people.
Yep.
And now it's really gotten down to the people that have a streak of that, but also want to deal in the law. That's kind of the anarchist camp of is Bitcoin Cash, and the Bitcoin Satoshi Vision folk are more saying, look, we need to deal in the law here. We need to go within what the law says of the government, because we're not trying to like overthrow the government here. And also realize Bitcoin is it's not an amazing technology only. It's an economic system that allows for this ledger that can be run on its own, essentially. It has all the incentives aligned. People think it's a technology, but it's really the beauty of it is in its economic system, having all the incentives of the miners to run it and the people to want to use it and the businesses to want to use it. And that is what the Bitcoin, which people don't even care about the community as much as that's who's invested in Bitcoin Satoshi's Vision now. And again, this isn't investment advice. Even Craig Wright himself says there's like a 10% chance Bitcoin is going to work. But if it's the 10% chance, is basically probably going to be Satoshi's Vision or nothing, because all these other coins, there was such this massive like digital gold rush in 2017 to just get a token out there and say this is what it did, write a white paper, and you could just get $1 million for just nothing.
Yes.
And so many of these coins are just based on nothing. And the other point that you brought up was the inflation of all these different coins, and that is so true, because you're only going to have such a certain amount of value in the network of currency. Because right now our currency essentially is digital. You have paper notes of it, but it's just your numbers in your bank account. And if you only have so much value from having a currency system that works. And so when you keep diluting it, you're not going to, each one becomes worth less on its own. And yes, there's ways to combine them, but it doesn't make sense to have that money in the long run, I don't think. And so between those two things, that's why I'm very skeptical of dealing in any of these other currencies.
So, I just want to say, someone in the chat said that Bitcoin has added $13 billion to the market cap in the last 4 days.
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, the market cap of all cryptocurrencies is about $150 billion last I checked.
Yeah.
And I think that, if you look at it over time, it keeps going up into a bubble and then crashing and up to a bubble. It was at 800 billion approximately a year and change ago.
Oh, yeah.
So if this system takes over it, the global market cap of fiat currency is in the tens of trillions. So
yeah,
it would have 100+ times to go, but it's just a matter of it being useful for people, because you can't hardly spend it anywhere now. And you'll see people on Twitter saying, "Oh, look at this burrito I bought with Dash," or whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, okay, so you can buy a burrito that is one place you want on your way to go, but
right.
you can't pay your rent, you can't go on Amazon, you can't go to the grocery store. And I think it's not going to change until businesses start to see the value in using it, which is exactly what Craig Wright and his company Enchain are trying to do, is make a business case for this. Because and I'll end my rant about Bitcoin here because I could talk about this for ages, but it's essentially the another thing that people didn't realize, that Bitcoin is not just peer-to-peer cash, it's this immutable ledger. So you can keep data so securely, basically prove that it's true. I mean, imagine if you had these government emails on the blockchain instead of on servers going all over the place. And I'm not saying you would want, maybe it's a bad example. Maybe you keep them encrypted on the blockchain, you can see who accessed them. But basically, businesses are going to see that Bitcoin is not inefficient. It's incredibly efficient when you can run something like even Visa or a bank on the blockchain, whether you're using Bitcoin or not, because you just have these servers just calculate numbers and never make a mistake, essentially, in terms of keeping what is true is on there. And so that's going to be the way that I think people are going to start using it, is by the business case for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only way that it's really going to survive, is because you've got to have multiple uses for it, have it make sense for people, have it become like a necessary element of society. It's still in that niche phase right now.
Big time, yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about some news, Craig. Let's get into this. Okay, so I want to talk about what happened down under, and we got to be real careful about.
Yes.
Yeah, we got to be real careful about how we talk about it.
Absolutely.
So, I was sick yesterday. I had a migraine. When I was on my stream on Wednesday, something happened in my throat, and then I got a nosebleed, and then I woke up the next morning with a migraine. And of course, we had that high pressure storm system come through. It tends to happen to me when there's a storm, but it just came out of nowhere. A little bit unusual for me. But so I didn't really keep up with the news yesterday. I wasn't able to. I didn't make a video, didn't do anything. But I had a friend, Larry's watching. He saw the video. I don't know if you saw the video, but the video that I'm speaking of, this individual, was wearing a GoPro or something like that, or a cell phone. And okay, first of all, the manifesto coming out and, mentioning our president by name, mentioning Candace Owens, okay? He was posted on, on the boards. It just, everything about it seems to me to be perfectly orchestrated to attack us and what we're doing and the things that we're involved with. And then to see the video itself, there was none of the hallmarks that you would expect from an event like that. Meaning, there was no damage anywhere, if you know what I'm saying. Be it on an individual or on a wall. So normally I would stay away from something like that. Like I don't watch those. Like anytime something like that happens, like I'm just, I avoid it like the plague. It's psychically damaging to me. But
yeah, same.
Yeah. So, but I watched it because someone told me about, the fact that that's, it does not look real. It's an FF. What do you think?
Yeah, I too haven't watched it for the same reason you cited, is that I find those things to be psychologically damaging. But the timing is certainly quite coincidental. As our favorite Anon mentioned, it's never a coincidence, which I mean statistically, sometimes there are coincidences, but this is quite one of them. And then the fact that it happened down under, and
Five Eyes.
Yes, exactly. And you see the PM of that down under country coming out today and saying we need stricter regulation. And wasn't there like a credible statement made about her and her safety, like from the same individual? Did you see that? No, I didn't see that.
Yeah. So he came out apparently in like maybe a separate message, or as part of the manifesto, stating that, oh no, it wasn't him. It was that group that operates in Syria that, yes. So who is, who we recently defeated, or, they're supposed to be defeated. But yeah, I got people in the chat, saying, nah, totally fake. I saw it coming. I was expecting it too. I mean, I knew that something was going to have to be done for them to change the news cycle, because, and then of course we had, HRC's former campaign chairman down there at the same time, who was speaking about the subject of these, these events, these fake events taking place.
Yes, and did you happen to see the headline of him talking about the election in New Zealand being a juicy target for something?
Oh no.
Yeah, just 5 days ago.
Oh.
Juicy target, his words.
How? Oh my God! It is like the most obvious and
incredibly obvious.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull this up. Juicy target.
Yeah, if you search that, it should come up. Yeah, there's no. I mean, I would have been surprised if something like this didn't happen with everything coming out, and it seems like it's not distracting. And someone else also pointed out to me that was an interesting observation, was that it happened down under, not here. Are things in such control here that they can't even pull this off anymore here?
Yes. I would tend to think that that's the reason. And not to mention that down there they have some of the strictest laws for control of these instruments.
Right.
The instruments that were used.
Instruments.
Yes, these specialty instruments. So I'm taking a look at this. In an exclusive interview, HRC's former presidential campaign manager JP told NewsHub that NZ is a big juicy target and that hacked information could be weaponized as fake news. So it's also interesting, that he's talking about the weaponization of information, and it's clearly what's happening. They're talking about the fact that they're part of the Five Eyes network, a powerful intelligence club made up of the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and the US. Wow. So not only that, but now I've gotten reports on Twitter that that country has now blocked access to 4chan, 8chan, and LiveLeak.
Wow, that is amazing.
All of the means of the people spreading this information unencumbered, and they're not able to use it anymore. And then somebody else had said that they're attacking 8chan hard right now. Oh, both NZ and AU shut off access, and
wow.
So. And they're speculating that 8chan was the target the whole time. I totally would agree with that. How about the Ethiopian airplane? Have you looked into this very much?
I haven't looked into it too deeply, other than what I've seen Anand speculate about, that there may have been some kind of control, and that's why they needed to ground them. Have you looked into it?
Yes. SAT data and GPS data shows that the plane completed its flight.
Oh, really?
The data showing that it went down, minutes from the airport is completely fake. When you take a look at the GPS data, it clearly shows that it actually completed and it made its way. Here on the screen right now, if you want to take a look, this is the actual satellite data showing the full path of the aircraft. That green line right there is the airplane actually landing at the airport.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, pretty insane. And then on the Ethiopia in the airport, it actually shows its arrival, like on the boards, like the information at the airport. It shows that it got there. I mean, I suppose that they could have screwed up, but I mean, how incredible would that be in terms of taste, to show? But it says here, arrival at 10:28 a.m. It showed up, it landed. And, looking at the site, at the actual wreckage, the first thing that I thought was, none of it was smoldering. None of it looked charred. There were no bodies, I mean, again, another FF, and they are doing everything they can. Now, I don't know if you saw the show the other night, but my friend Mindfuhrer on Twitter, he put together an excellent thread where he went through the passenger manifest, and he identified a group of people that worked for the UN in Darfur, specifically with refugees and child refugees. And what have we been told by our favorite Anon? But these zones of awful things happening, political unrest. It's a perfect opportunity for them to just snatch up the little ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Let me see. What else do we got here on my Twitter here? Oh yes. Also, the Arms Export Control Act violation. This GPS chip inside the plane is somehow like Hillary Clinton was the one who actually patented this device when she was working at the Rose Law Firm back in the day. Like she has some investment in this patent, and now it's on all of these airplanes. And it was speculated that perhaps this is one of the reasons why President Trump grounded all the 737s.
Wow, that's an interesting connection right there.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I mean, we've been finding out a lot about hardware of various electronics being not exactly what we thought it was.
Yes. Oh yeah, with all the stuff from China. Let me say thank you to a couple of my friends here real quick. Let's see. Scott Tice says, stay above water here in Nebraska. Lots of sledding, lots of people and cattle homeless. Oh, there's flooding going on in Nebraska right now? I didn't even know that. So I'm sorry to hear that, Scott, and I'm glad that you're still able to join us. Everybody pray for Nebraska. Heck, I'm sure that has something to do with the incredible storm that showed up out of nowhere in Denver, or in Colorado, the whole state of Colorado. Jackie Moore says, God is in control, pray daily. I live by that tenet, Jackie. Thank you for saying so. Tactical Shed, another great friend of mine from Twitter. He does some really great deep dives too. He says, keep up the great work. Where we go one, we go all. And James Blank, Verizon 5G being activated in Chicago, April 11th. And also James Stewart with another super chat, where we go one, we go all. Thank you, James. We don't have 5G where I'm at right now, and I'm really hoping that we don't get it anytime soon. I've got a couple of people that I've been speaking with for the last several weeks. They're going to come on, and we're going to do some type of a show about 5G. I've got my friend Dar. I don't know if he's in here tonight, but he actually works for a semiconductor company. He's an engineer. So working at like the silicon level, building the infrastructure for 5G. And if I need to say this out loud so that people can send me their questions, if you guys want to email me at redpill78@protonmail.com with your specific questions about 5G, and maybe give me information from what you know, of what you heard about the dangers of it, because he is telling me that the hype is a bit overblown. There's certain frequencies or wavelengths or spectrums that fall within the 5G spectrum that can be used for nefarious activities. But just because it is in this like millimeter wave spectrum doesn't mean that it is necessarily harmful. Now, I think a microwave, and I think that it doesn't matter what temperature you turn it up to. If you stick your hand in it, you're cooked, So what do you know about 5G? You heard anything about 5G, Craig?
I'm kind of at the same place you are, which is I've heard a lot of bad things. I've also heard people say it's overblown. I know Trump said that he wants it, but then I've heard people say that was a coded message, that it was dangerous.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to seeing your show about this, because I haven't taken the time to deep dive into it with everything else going on. And I see what you're saying by saying, microwaves, that's probably not something we should mess with. I know it seems like they don't want a lot of the research on the potential long-term study of 4G or 3G or regular cell phone radiation getting out there anyway. So
yeah,
it's something that makes me nervous, but I kind of just have my blinders on about it. So I don't know more than that, but I should know. I'd like to know.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, like at this point, it's almost like we are being bombarded by frequencies and waves all the time. I'd be surprised if all of us didn't end up getting cancer. It's everywhere.
Yeah, that's it's amazing how much they've tapped in. Like our favorite Anon has said things about they might have cures for things, and it seems they've really stepped up censorship of people saying they're anti those things they give young people that
yes
are to prevent disease allegedly. and it seems like they really have to have their hands in it. There's a lot, whatever they fight real bad, people talking about it seems like what's going on there, and it's very strange. It really seemed like they've. Have you noticed they've stepped that up lately?
Oh yeah, they've stepped it up bigly. I have a friend who is Michelle. She is big in that community, and they have done a lot of work to strip channels down. If you're talking about that, I mean, like in the regular world. If you mention that, I mean, that was actually like the last thing I ever posted on Facebook. I read a study from the National Institutes of Health. This was when I was in grad school, and it was about the efficacy of the measles vaccine. And if you get the measles vaccine, even if it's a group of people that have all gotten it, you still have, it's like the 90% chance that you can transmit it to another person. So it's like almost, indistinguishable from, having received it to, just being a person who's never gotten it before. But if you haven't gotten it, then you can, get it, and then your body builds up those natural antibodies, and then it fights it off. You're in a far worse position if you go and get this shot or whatever, and then end up like, do you remember a couple years ago in California? There was all those cases in Disneyland, bunch of people in Disneyland. And the people that were getting it, like they were just like passing it back and forth to each other. It was all people that were supposed to be inoculated, but it didn't matter. It absolutely doesn't matter. And then you've got to worry about all of the other things that you're putting into your body, heavy metals and all that stuff. I need to say thank you to New Guardian. New Guardian does confirm that 8chan, 4chan, and LiveLink, they're up in Australia, down in New Zealand. Okay, so that makes more sense. Specifically down in NZ. And then Lisa Wareham says, hope to get home in time for some live Red Pill. Lisa, put it on in the car while you're driving, just don't look at the screen. Just listen to the voices. So, today we have this excellent proof here on my screen right now. I don't know if you can take a look at that, Craig. Remember, so remember we had watch number 1, at the time I speculated, is it 314 or is it 315? I mean, it's kind of like on that cusp. But 315, it was posted on January 5th. Then watch number 2, we had posted on March 2nd. That was at 3:42. Well, today on the 15th at 3:42 p.m., Attorney General William Barr certified the national emergency. I think that this is delivering on the MAGA promise. I named the show that because, right when all these posts started, we were told that Friday and Saturday would deliver on the MAGA promise. So I'm really excited to see what might happen tomorrow, because today was such a good day.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that too. And the statistical anomalies continue to pile up. It is cute. It's our favorite Anon has said, it is so outside of the statistical possibilities.
Yes,
at this point,
mathematically and statistically impossible. Here, let's watch a little bit of video of William Barr defending President Trump.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President, your declaration of an emergency on the southern border was clearly authorized under the law and consistent with past precedent. As you said, the National Emergencies Act directly authorizes the president, gives broad discretionary authority to the president to identify and respond to emergent circumstances that require a decisive response. And the humanitarian and security crisis we have on the border right now is exactly the kind of emergency that presidents are permitted to address under the National Emergencies Act. As you alluded to yourself, in the past 40 years, there have been 59 emergencies declared. And many of these have dealt with political conditions in countries like Burundi, Sierra Leone, Belarus. The crisis that we're dealing with today is right on our doorstep, and it presents a real, clear, and present danger to the American people. So what you've done from a legal standpoint is solidly grounded in law, and from the standpoint of protecting the American people, it's imperative.
Thank you very much. That's great. Well, you'll be defending it, and you'll defend it well. I have no doubt about that.
Okay, so as my friend Method said today on Twitter, Barr is most definitely our guy. You guys, if anybody was on the fence about Barr, just take a look at that. He just backed up our president 110%. He gave a firm backhanded slap to Congress. There's no way that President Trump can usurp Congress or go around Congress when he is using established precedent. Okay, the act was created so that the president would have the freedom to do what he needed to do, and he certainly did. He is protecting the nation. He is protecting the people of this nation. I love it. I love it, and I cannot wait to see more from William Barr.
Yes, and in regards to the wall actually getting built, I don't know if you've heard a lot. I know Ann Coulter was saying things like, show me where the wall's being built, and the whole black-pilled crowd. I don't know if you hear a lot of what they say, but
yeah,
they've been saying, it's not even actually being built. It's just they're just repairing the old wall. I'm really looking forward to seeing the new wall get built, this move forward, and just, you can see the long list, as our favorite Anon posted the other day, of just this seemingly endless amount of accomplishments that Trump has done, and I can't wait to see more of the wall get built.
On several of my programs, Craig, we have definitively shown new sections of the wall going up. We have not only the bracing and the fortifying of the existing wall, but new sections of the wall going up. And even if it is just making the existing wall better, I'm all for that. It needs to be 50.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it needs to be 50 feet high, the whole length of that border. So if it's just razor wire right now and they're installing that steel slab, so what? I respect Black Pill and but I have to firmly disagree. The wall is definitely being built. And it's happening. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is down there, and they are doing it. That's the whole Red Castle, Green Castle thing. It's going up, and they are doing it.
Oh yeah, I have no doubt about it. It's great to see.
It is. Everybody, we need to say thank you to a couple more people. Jeff Stewart. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Roger Sloan checking in from South Carolina. God bless. God bless you, Roger. Thank you so much. Jeff Stewart says, Space Shot 76 turned me on to RedPill78. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for that super chat. Andrew Smetana says, I truly believe that the rapture will be very, very soon. If it is, I'm ready to go because I know exactly where I'm going. So thank you, Andrew. T says, hello, White WH is in the house. White Hat. And this is my buddy White Hat. Did you happen to see the program when White Hat was on, Craig?
No, I didn't catch that one.
Okay, so White Hat is a certified ethical hacker who works in some branch of our government, and came on the program and gave us a lot of really good information. That's a great interview. It was the same night that Mr. W was on. Mr. W is a long-time, let's say, security contractor. So he's been in and out of various levels of the government as well. He knows a lot of stuff. Both of them very, very knowledgeable. Oh, and you guys, this is actually something that White Hat told me just a couple days ago, and I haven't had a chance to tell you that. They have found a 0-day vulnerability in Google Chrome. Okay? Delete Google Chrome. Stop using it. Stop using it. Major exploit that they can use. Your information is at risk when you're using Google Chrome. Bill S. said, boom bar. That's right, boom bar. K Brown 611 just gave a super chat. Thanks, K. Appreciate that. Here, let's go ahead. I want to take a look at this article real quick. I'm going to run through the higher points. So we all know that President Trump signed his first presidential veto on Friday in the Oval Office. Several border angel parents stood with President Trump during the signing to knock down that congressional bill blocking the president's emergency declaration. And despite tens of thousands of illegal aliens crossing into America each month, the tons of illegal narcotics, and the strain on the U.S. economy, Democrats and 12 turncoat Republicans voted to stop the president's emergency declaration. Now, Craig, did you notice the other day in that post from our favorite Anon from the plus version, actually, there was this video will get Donald Trump elected, one of the most powerful videos ever created, was posted 12 times. And we were speculating about what it could be. Well, at 12 seconds in the video, former President BHO was right there at that 12-second mark. And then, lo and behold, 12 Republicans voted against the president's wishes and voted to side with the Democrats. Well, it didn't matter. All they did was show their stripes, and now people in those states know exactly who not to vote for when it happens next time.
Yeah, that is quite interesting. It harkens back a bit to when someone asked that, how do you know the future? And he said, control. I wonder how they knew that was going to be the case with those 12 Republican senators. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I do, I mean, in the way that they say that, we have everything. I think that they are firmly in control of all means and methods of communications that, that are being used by these individuals. So, whether it's, just like snooping through a mobile device or tracking their email, I think that every one of these people are being watched. And I'm sure that when they spoke with them face to face, I'm sure Trump had everybody come into the Oval Office and, they counted votes. I mean, that's what they do. But then behind closed doors, or they go down to the lunch room with Nancy Pelosi and friends, and and then they made a backroom deal. So I think that it's just the technology that they have, the ability to snoop in and see what they're saying and what they're doing. There's probably lots of other methods too. I mean, even if a phone is not in the area, I know that they can use high sensitivity microphones and listen from a distance. But I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. And in regards to, you said at the 12-second mark of that video, which I don't know if you've noticed or talked about this, but it's much harder to find that video than it used to be, because I play it. I always open my Saturday morning live streams with the video, and that one it's the one I've played the most
Yep.
out of any video, because it's so rewatchable. As that Anand has said, this video is so important, so I figure why not watch it a lot?
Yep.
And it gets better every time. But you used to be able to just type in to whatever search engine, the video that got President Trump elected, or this video will get President Trump elected.
Yep.
And now it's so hard to find. They don't want you seeing even that video of Trump giving a speech.
No, it's so incredibly threatening to them.
Yes.
They've done a lot to massage those search results. And I don't use Google for search. I use DuckDuckGo. And
yeah, same.
Yeah, and even searching for things on YouTube, I have to know the title of something in order to find it, because you search for something, and all you do is get 8 pages of like ABC News reports or NBC, MSNBC from the last 8 years, things that are not relevant, but they just stack those results so that you can't get to what you want to watch. And it's so obvious. All those videos have like 160 views, or maybe like a horrible dislike to like ratio. And there's no reason that they should be coming up. And then when you finally get to like, the video that I want to see, or, searching for my own videos, it's clearly obvious that they're pushing it down so that we're not going to be able to find them. I need to give a few thank yous here. Let's see. Oh man, we got more than I thought. Brandy Mankari, our biggest challenge for 2020 belief lies in the voting stations. They will cheat, dead people and illegals will vote. How do we oversee? How do we prepare? Patriot every spot, even possible, advise, discuss. I think this is a good point. And, I believe that there is going to be a voter law instated. I mean, that's been told to us specifically. And, I think that they're going to be clearing the voter rolls. I think the census is going to be huge in that. They need to count all these people and have an accurate count, because then when we get down to voting, they can go and they can look, county by county, and they can say, well, how is it possible that the Democrats won by a landslide margin, when we know exactly how many people are there? What do you think about that, Craig?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true about the census, that it will show voter fraud if they try and do it. And two, voter ID, I think, is going to become very necessary as we see what has happened, if that comes out during what's happening in 2019, I think a lot of potential fraud could be shown there. And I think with You Are the News Now network that's been developed out of this phenomenon, that the memes for voter ID are just so obviously compelling when you share those memes that say, you need a voter ID, you need not a voter ID, you need an ID to join the military, to buy booze, to buy cigarettes, to rent a car, to get a driving to drive, but you don't need one to vote. Why is that? How is that racist? Or just the videos of people going around and asking people of other races saying, do you have an ID? Do you think it's racist to need ID for things? They go, what? Are you crazy? And
Yeah.
it's just so memeable and such an obvious argument that there's something else going on, that if that meme gets pushed and Congress and Trump wants to make a voter ID law, I don't know how that possibly could be stopped.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna have to. There has to be something that happens. Like, we're at a point of critical mass. People have woken up so much, and it is just very, very difficult for them to hide anything anymore. The only people that really are buying in are just, the Trump derangement syndrome liberals, that have their heads buried in the sand. Once we have this Mueller report come out and our president is exonerated, I think his hands are going to be untied and a lot of things are going to happen. Okay, I also want to say thank you to Pam McKay, $17 super chat, magic number. Thank you so much, Pam. She says, thank you for all you do. God bless you and your family from California. Sweet. Hang loose. We got Pam McKay also. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the same one. Bethany Brandon, what would we do without you guys? We are the news now. That's right. We are the news now. That's why this is so important. I take it seriously. Thank you for that. Stephen Schefflau says, where we go, one, we go all. You've got the Masonator on too. I don't know what that means. Masonator.
I know.
Oh, Masonator. Craig Mason.
Nice.
That's awesome, dude. Next, Radar, New Jersey. In my humble opinion, the Senate is now set to change the National Emergency Act so Democrats don't abuse it in the future. It's an interesting thought. Karmanon. Oh, one of my mods, Karmanon. Been with you since the beginning. Still the best out there, RP. Where's RBG? It is her birthday. It is her birthday. Happy birthday, Ruth. My buddy LJ says, two of my favorites here, where we go one, we go all. Sandy Zeiss says, thanks again for putting my mind at ease last night about Barr. LOL, I tried one of these, but I thought I needed to pay. Well, thank you very much, Sandy. I appreciate it. I'm glad that we were able to put your mind at ease. Oh, my good friend Aaron Moffat says, big day, great day. Looking forward to even more. God bless, friend. You are needed. Thank you, Aaron. Aaron's another great channel to check out, you guys. Erin, she was my guest a couple weeks ago, Craig. She made a really good video. She does some great deep dives, talking about like the genesis of the internet, and then tying it into like the election of Trump and this information age that we're in, and the theory that our favorite Anon is at least in part possibly a very sophisticated AI.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, you should definitely check it out.
How do I find that?
Well, it's on my channel. It was like my live stream from last week.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Well, no, but I mean, you can find the link to her video on there, but you can search Erin Moffett. It's ErinMoffett. And she's got a lot of great videos. She's also an expert in precious metals. So she's going to be back on the show in the very near future to talk about precious metals specifically, because that's another thing, in the same way we were just talking about blockchain. I think that precious metals is a very, very solid investment, not investment advice. But I think that for me personally, I'm going to be doing that. Somebody just said, what WTF is up with Rand Paul? I don't know. I think that maybe Rand Paul is not completely bought in, or maybe Trump doesn't want it to look like, or I don't know. I don't know. What do you think is up with Rand Paul?
I don't know, because he's always been such a staunch supporter of liberty. And this also, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. As you said, I don't know how controlled this is. I don't know who's listening to who. I don't know who's making deals with who. I don't know if this was intentionally done to have these 12 senators vote against it, just so Trump could have an opportunity to veto it, and then have the opportunity for that to be whatever PR that was. I mean, Rand Paul, it's classic Rand Paul to go against something that is, on principle, even if it's like for what he would want to happen, which
Right.
I'm not. I love the guy. I worked on a Senate campaign,
Yeah.
and his father inspired me to get into liberty. So it's very confusing to me as well what's happening with Rand Paul.
Yeah.
But it's just something's going on very strange. And I don't know if he's not clued into the plan or what it is, but I think they're in big time control, whatever it is.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know who Jordan Page is? Jordan Page is the musician that used to open up for Ron Paul at all of his events.
Oh.
Okay, he was a guest on the show last week. Do you know who Schaefer Cox is? He's a political prisoner. No. All right. Check out the show from last week. Schaefer Cox is a political prisoner. He was completely railroaded in a fake case in Alaska many years ago. He's been in prison with no guilty trial. He had a trial. It was a bad trial. There was all this exculpatory evidence that his team was not given. The whole thing was thrown out, and then they transferred him to like a super max prison, which is full of people that should be in Guantanamo Bay, and his life is at risk now. But somehow, like a guard or someone else at the institution that he was at before he got transferred, they smuggled out all of his writings, and it got back to his legal team. They used it, they compiled it, they published a book, and then Jordan just happened to pick up this book one day and read it, or maybe someone gave it to him as a gift, and he used it to write songs. And so there was a video that premiered on the show last week for the first time, and then the song went on sale like later on that night at midnight. But all the proceeds go for Schaefer's legal fund and for the fight to try and get him exonerated fully and then out of prison. So yeah, it was a really great show, man. It's very, very, very horrible to think that in this day and age this is happening, especially because the whole thing happened under the Obama administration, but they haven't been able to do anything to get him out now that President Trump is in office. And, I wish that there was something more that we could do, but it's definitely something to check out.
Oh yeah, and I think there's so many cases like that you have people in prison that it's crazy that it ended up that way. When you have a system that has been run by the people who are running the system, they don't care at all. I think that's part of their psychological torture, is to make everybody know that if you do one thing that's against us, you could end up in this institution. So it keeps people quiet.
Yes.
I think that's going to be one thing Trump's going to do. Is going to wake a lot of people up at the same time. And he's already done it a bit, but I think he's really going to ramp it up. He's going to take all these cases that are just make no sense. Locking people up for 3 petty drug crimes 20 years ago,
yes,
things like that are just make no sense. And it's going to both do a great thing by doing what is fair and helping these families and these people out. And also people are going to see, oh, this guy is actually legitimate. I think he's going to do that for anything that falls into that category of, these laws that are just so unjust. I think he's doing that, but I think he's saving more and more of those things as the awakening takes place, to just cement even further and just hammer down his reputation.
Right. If he does it all at once, people are going to forget. People have a notoriously short frame of mind, no memory. So he has to spread it out so that it's like consistently win after win after win. And then once he's, wins again in 2020, because he's going to win again. There's no way. We know it. Okay. So also my friend Flora Riccio, love you and your work. Will you ever have Bernie in Truth and Art TV? He is so funny in how he tells the news. I've only seen a couple of videos from Truth and Art TV, but if you guys are friends with Bernie from Truth and Art TV and you want to put him in touch with me, that would be great. A good friend of mine turned me on to Craig before I started making videos. And so that's yeah. So that's how I was familiar with. I was a subscriber of yours before I even started making videos. And I remember at one point thinking like, wow, like I can't, just wondering if it could ever be, like people watching my videos, and it was just one day I took a leap of faith and just went and started doing it. and it paid off. You know, I mean, all you got to do is just be honest. I think, you know, I mean, we are so hungry. We're so hungry for people to tell us the truth. You know, like I got rid of my cable a long time ago. I was a huge consumer of YouTube for a very long time. And like the only thing that, you know, the only regret that I have about making YouTube videos now is that it's just so much harder to watch the people that I used to watch on a daily basis. You know what I mean?
Oh, why is that?
Because I've got
your time.
because of my time.
Oh yeah, I feel that, man. I totally feel that. And you mentioned, you know, you watched and you wanted to do it. I have a video from a while back. You can maybe find it by searching YouTube. I don't know if the search function works properly, but basically, and I always tell people, if you want to make videos, everyone has their own expertise.
Yes,
perspective.
I saw that one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, and also you have your own network too. So, you know, the first people that ever saw my videos are just people I posted it on Facebook, which I actually plan on deleting the next 24 hours. But it gets you have the reach of every individual. The You Are the News Now reach.
Mm-hmm.
That the total of, you know, of people making videos like you and I, other people, you know, there's 2,148 people watching this now, but imagine how many connections each one of those people have if they talk to 5 people, you know, that's
right,
or 10 people, and then they talk to everybody. It's just the mass. That's why the population is so powerful, is that it just takes a lighting of the fire, of the flame, of talking to people, and whether it's video, they're just discussing, of bringing these ideas up that they always say, oh, don't talk religion, don't talk politics, that's mean, it hurts somebody's feelings. But now we're saying, no, you know, forget that. This is serious. As Vedanan has said, we are at war, and luckily for us, I think it's just a war of memes, and people still, like, it still rattles their brain and they feel like they're at real war. But luckily there's like way less bloodshed than a real war.
Oh yeah, totally. You know, I mean, your feelings don't count on the battlefield. You know, like I am totally okay with having a conversation with someone and having a disagreement and you know, getting somebody else's point of view. And that's what's really missing from the left. They can't do it. You know, I mean, they've been told for so long that their opinion is the only one that matters. And if you've got a differing or opposing point of view, then you are essentially evil. I was having a conversation with somebody about this at my local bakery this morning. It's actually like a Lebanese bakery, and you know, we have totally opposing points of view on some things. Like, they openly say that they don't like the president, you know, but that doesn't, I don't care, you know. I mean, just because we don't have the same political views doesn't mean that I'm going to start boycotting their bakery. You know, they make good food. I'm here for the food. I'm not here for the political discourse. But even if I was coming in there for the political discourse, you know, at least it's somebody that I can have a conversation with. You know, like I went into another bakery. It was like a sweet shop a couple weeks ago, and first time I went in there wearing my MAGA hat. And
nice.
Like when she saw me at first, and she gave me like the greeting, and then I just watched the color drain from her face. I watched her smile leave her face, and then she completely averted my gaze the entire time that I was in there, and she was very short with me, but I was so polite the whole time. I was just very, very nice to her. It was very, very good time. I don't mind it. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it is, I think most people are going to at least be nice enough, but in their minds and in these conversations in their family life, or when they actually, it can get heated, as I'm sure you've probably either experienced or heard people talk about. People all the time are saying, "Oh, I got in this fight with my brother talking about this," and I was relatively calm, but they've really programmed our brains, and they've realized that throughout history, when we came up, there was always a lot more danger surrounding us. You know, we didn't always live in centrally heated nice boxes with fences, and there was a lot more danger around us. And so we had to be, when something seemed like it was high stakes, we had to be on alert. And the part of our brain, the hindbrain that controls our fight or flight, when it gets activated, it shuts down the prefrontal cortex, the part that does the logical thinking.
Yes.
And so they just get in these fight or flight, these silence or violence interactions. There's this great book called Crucial Conversations,
Okay.
and it just goes through the process and the value of having conversations that aren't heated, and it also goes through the science of why it's so difficult to do and some practical tactics for it. But they prey on the idea that we can easily get triggered essentially and make it so we don't think, and then we're just screaming at each other. It's how they keep us divided.
Yep.
And we're learning these tactics, learning their tricks. It's totally diffusing them, seeing how people are being able to talk now and seeing how people are saying, oh, I had an actual cool conversation with somebody who I wasn't able to talk to before, and we didn't see eye to eye totally, but we were actually able to talk for the first time. And that's the exact opposite of what they want us to be able us to actually have conversations over and over again, because then we get down to the truth, which is again their biggest fear.
Yes, exactly. Also need to say thank you to my friend Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea, you changed your avatar. Good to see you there. And then also my friend Vadana Motley. Thank you so much, ladies, both of you. So let's move on to the next subject here. We've got from Sarah A. Carter. We've got many articles to go through here, Craig. I don't think we're gonna get through all of them because I'm having a great time talking with you.
I know how that goes.
Yeah. So lawmakers request documents from the DOJ regarding top special counsel prosecutor, the Bulldog, Andrew Weissman. Republican lawmakers want answers regarding the special counsel prosecutor, Andrew Weissman, who's expected to be soon leaving his post. He actually did step down today, if I'm not mistaken, at the Department of Justice. But significant questions still linger about his knowledge and connections with one of the FBI's top sources into the Trump-Russia probe. Representative Mark Meadows and Jim Jordan want answers from the DOJ. They've requested documents, communications, and they've sent multiple detailed questions regarding Weissman and his colleague, DOJ prosecutor Zainab Ahmad. According to the letter, the Justice Department has been asked to respond to their request by 5 p.m. That was today. I don't know if they did. The concern is based on the recent information provided in testimony by senior Justice Department official Bruce Orr, whose testimony was recently released. Orr had told lawmakers that he had met with Weissman and Ahmad in the summer of 2016 and warned them that the anti-Trump dossier compiled by former British spy Christopher Steele was not properly vetted. Orr also told the prosecutors about Steele's vehement bias against Trump. Now, it's come out recently that the dossier may not have even been written by Christopher Steele. Christopher Steele was an established source for the FBI, but the information essentially came from Nellie Orr and Glenn Simpson. Glenn Simpson wrote a series of articles for the Wall Street Journal along with his wife, and he had this theory, this running theory about Russian organized crime infiltrating the U.S. government. So I heard this on Dan Bongino the other day. The idea that Glenn Simpson had this script written, essentially, and he took it and they sold it to the FBI through Christopher Steele as a ghostwriter of sorts. So you've got these people in the FBI. Now, it wasn't only Christopher Steele, it was also the Clowns in America, John Brennan. They actually had the information prior to the FBI, and then Brennan has been on record stating multiple times that he didn't actually see the dirty dossier until something like December of 2016. But he actually took it to, what's his name, Harry Reid. So the dossier shows up on the desk of like the DOJ and the FBI. And then almost immediately thereafter, Harry Reid sends a letter to the DOJ and the FBI demanding that something be done about this dossier that he has information about. And so basically it was the clowns feeding this intel using Glenn Simpson and his like straw man, wireframe argument. And then they just inserted the president into it, or the candidate at that time, because they were so willing to do anything. And then it gets to the DOJ and the FBI, and of course you've already got people that are in the HRC camp. You've got people who, would love to believe this stuff. So then they find out about it. It doesn't really matter to them if Steele wrote it or not. But they can use the excuse that he wrote it because he's an accepted source already. So then they go to the FISA court. Maybe they knew, maybe they didn't. I tend to think that either way, it didn't really matter. They wanted to believe it so bad, and they were willing to hang their hats on it because they thought that, given this preponderance of information, or this, how the size of the file, you've got so many memos going back and forth about the possibility of Trump being an agent of Russia. They thought that since they owned the whole infrastructure, that it was going to fly. But they're screwed now, Craig.
Yeah, it's really amazing how the fact that, as you said, they have all of the infrastructure. They thought, oh, we own the FISA courts, we own the clowns, we own the FBI and the DOJ, we own the Congress people. The fact that they thought they owned it all just made them so incredibly sloppy that they would just take this script and just insert, oh, this will do. We got this one over here. We'll just throw Trump's name in there. This will bring him down.
They'll never know.
Yeah. And there's just 20 stops along the road where you just look and you see, wait a second, this one thing shows the entire thing is total bull jive. And now we're seeing all of that over and over again. It's just like such an obvious sale.
Yes.
Of it being nonsense.
Yes. So in this letter that our senators here wrote, this development raises questions about the impartiality and independence of Weissman and Ahmad as senior members of the special counsel investigation. And we write to determine what steps both Weissman and Ahmad took to apprise special counsel Robert Mueller and the Justice Department of their contacts with Orr and the substance of those meetings before their assignment to the special counsel. Well, they didn't do anything. Everybody was compromised. Everyone was, completely, as far from impartial as they could possibly get. I think that part of this whole play with the creation of the special counsel, it was from the beginning, at least for me. I mean, I don't know about you. I'm sure that it was, though, but it was so obviously a stacked deck. They were willing to do anything, and they put all of these people into these positions with the special counsel and the investigation that had clear anti-Trump bias. They cannot claim to be impartial because they were so obviously not.
Yeah, they can't claim to be impartial, or they can't claim to actually have any legitimate reason for doing what they're doing. It's like you pluck any one person out, none of them are impartial. And it seems like that the only thing that maybe any of them have chance of saving themselves would be to turn sides and turn state's witness and either testify or do a sting, which I don't know if you have thought or given much consideration to the idea that RR and Mueller might be actually doing a sting here, but that seems like the obvious thing they would do, given how amazingly caught they are.
Oh yeah, we've talked about it on my channel many times. I do believe, you've got the situation with Mueller coming in for the quote unquote interview. He already knows that he can't be FBI director. Trump knows. I'm sure that Rosenstein knows. He comes in for that interview. I think that he went in there and, our president said, listen, we got you dead to rights. Here's the evidence on Uranium One. Here's the evidence on all of your corruption. Here is what they have you compromised with. So we need you to play a part. So then he goes in there. He has this, the special counsel investigation. 2 days later, Rosenstein appoints him. And now it's you've got the same situation with Sessions. Okay, Sessions recuses himself. All the Democrats think that he's a lame duck and they've got his number. Okay, and then with Mueller, they're like, yes, Mueller's gonna nail Trump's butt to the wall and we're gonna get him. Okay, and now we're getting to the end and they're like trying to do this soft push. Oh, everybody needs to get ready. There's not gonna be it's not gonna be what we want. Because, and not thinking, that it's because, thank God the president's not a Russian agent. It's like, dang it. The president's not a Russian agent. What are we going to do? Hold on. I need to say thank you to Susie Q. She, 1776. Q Patriot, love to you all. I feed my blue husband red pills every day without him realizing it. He's become a confused shade of purple. Red and blue make purple with an eggplant. We got Roger Sloan. Roger Sloan says they never thought she would lose. And then my friend Vivian in Texas. Blessings from Jerry and Viv in Texas. Loved the veto ceremony. National emergency beyond real. And Stroke Evil Eyes Depo out. That's right. There's a deposition with Strzok. We're going to talk about that too. So let me move on from this article right here. So Strzok said he revealed that the DOJ had a deal with the FBI not to investigate the Clinton Foundation emails. Filter team worked to limit search on servers. Republican Congressman Doug Collins, who is my, he's my hero at this point. Doug has been killing it this week, releasing these testimonies. On Thursday, he released the transcript from former FBI agent Peter Strzok's June 2018 testimony. Peter Strzok told then-Majority General Counsel Zachary Summers that the DOJ made a deal with the FBI not to search for or investigate Clinton Foundation emails. Mr. Summer asked Peter Strzok if the Clinton Foundation was on Hillary's private server, to which Strzok replied, "I believe on one of the servers, if not others." When asked if the FBI was given access to Clinton Foundation emails as part of the investigation into HRC's private server, Strzok said, "We, the FBI, were not. We did not have access." That is incredible, that admission right there. It's not that they just didn't investigate. They were not allowed to investigate. And you've got something coming from extremely high up, okay? Top of the pyramid type stuff right there for that to come down. Now, he says, my recollection is that the access to those emails were based on consent that was negotiated between DOJ attorneys and counsel for Hillary Clinton. Strzok went on to explain that the FBI did not initially have access to Hillary's servers, but they obtained them over time. The possession of those servers was based on the negotiation of the DOJ attorneys for consent. We lacked probable cause to get a search warrant BS for those servers. So what exactly did this negotiation look like? Well, Peter Strzok said there was a significant filter team that was put in place to make sure the FBI was only allowed to search for terms approved on a list. For example, limits of domains, date ranges, and people were put into place so the FBI could not investigate the Clinton Foundation emails on the private servers. I actually have some of the testimony right here. I'm just looking through this. What do you think about that, Craig?
It's crazy. I mean, there was, I don't know if it was this article or a different one, but Representative Chaffetz was saying, this is so unusual. Can you think, or this is not exactly what he said, but can you think of a time where the FBI negotiates with somebody that they're investigating for a crime and they say, well, you can look at this part of my house, but you can't search over here.
Right.
It's insane. It just shows how it's a totally different tier of justice for them versus us.
Yes.
And then also they can negotiate with HRC to see only certain parts of whatever she wants them to see, and then smash the rest with hammers or whatever the case is. But the clowns are constantly spying on every single thing we do.
Yes.
It's a bit rich.
Yeah. Pretty disheartening when you think about how long this has been going on. But I mean, you can't say that any of it's surprising. The only thing that's surprising to me is that we're getting the information now. It's being released.
Right.
This is another reason why anytime somebody says it's not happening, well, geez, oh, Pete's, can you imagine?
Exactly.
Can you imagine admissions like these taking place,
No
4 years ago? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It was like, look here, not there. While you guys are in the garage, I'm going to be smashing these hard drives behind, the pool house. So, it like any crime that anybody would be looking at, being prosecuted for. I have never heard of limitations on, things that could be searched for, something like that. Like, prosecutors are going to go after someone because they want a conviction. It's just the fact that we have this two-tier justice system. I really do believe that Bill Barr is going to be ending that. I have to believe that, because we cannot exist as a country if this is how it is, because the rest of us are screwed. We've been screwed. And basically, we're at the point where we've really got nothing left to lose. Like we were at, basically the very moment when all the rest of our rights were about to be stripped away, and so now things are happening. We're gaining them back. I think that we're really looking at this new American Renaissance, and I love it.
Oh yeah, I shudder to think what would have happened if Trump did not get involved. And as far as Barr goes, I think he's got to be the real deal. If what our favorite Anand is saying is true, what he said, he was just floored at
Oh,
what he
yes.
saw in there, and the fact that there was potential indictments against Trump's children. There's no way he would not put somebody. Trump is, I think one of the reasons he was so successful is I think he's a great judge of character, and he knows when someone is going to do what they say they are and when they aren't, when you can trust them.
Yep.
And he would not assign someone who would get in there and not deal with those, what I assume are bogus indictments against his children. So there's just no way Barr can't be the real deal, I think.
Yep. Yep. Did you see the post 3087? The two military aircrafts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we've got one called Q and another called Anon. You know what's great is that CivMil Air, this account, they've done some really good work putting things out, showing proofs for us, but they're not pro Trump, and they don't believe in Q. It's striking to me, the fact that the things that they've said. I still have notifications on for them because I want to check this. I want to see this stuff as it's coming out. But it just goes to show you that just because of who this person is, our favorite Anon is putting things out because it's educational. It's not always the individual, it's the content.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the amazing thing about it, is that it's such a uniting message, which is the message of uniting, where we go one,
Yep.
we go all, and a lot of these things align with what people have kind of seen on their own and gone through the red pill or black pill process, whatever the case is. A lot of these things you can say to them about FFs or spying or whatever the case is, they kind of already are a bit open to that. Those people who have researched that over the last 10 years and seen it come out. And it's hard to argue with the things that he says because it doesn't even matter at that point. It's not an argument that he is or he isn't tied to Trump or the Trump administration. What he says is based in reality, based in logic. He says, use logic, use your brain. Don't let somebody drive you but you, and don't be divided. And we can all get along, because most people want that.
Yep.
And that's a compelling message, whether you like Trump or you hate Trump or you voted for Hillary or not. It's a strong message.
Yes, it is. We need to be united, and it's not just as a country. It's it's all of us here in the world. We have been separated. We've been tribalized, but then at the same time been demonized for splitting into our various tribes. And then it's like they build us up, they break us down. They build us up, they break us down. And as long as people can understand that it's not a fair game, it's not a fair game, and we have not been represented. And the things that they do, like we were talking at the beginning of the show, these wedge issues, that they put out there, but then they turn around and, they can always vote on increasing the salaries of Congress. They can always vote on helping out their friends, when it comes down to it. But then they can't agree on a balanced budget. They can fund the creation of soap operas in Afghanistan, but we have veterans here in America living on the streets. They can fund prisons to put people away for the rest of their lives, but they can't fund rehabilitation for addicts. It's just insanity.
Oh yeah, they've always have. They won't anymore, but they've always gotten what they want.
Yep.
And when we don't get what we want, they throw up their hands and go, "Oh, it's because we didn't have enough funding, because we didn't expect this." Then they need more funding, and it never works out. I mean, everything they do is the opposite of what they purport to do. Essentially, I mean, the Department of Education oversees the public schools, which teach you their narrative. The Department of Defense has not defended over. We let the border be open, and we got involved in, BHO bombed 8 countries. Trump hasn't expanded bombing to new countries. They are They just do the opposite of what they say. And then they tell you that, oh, well, we're doing our best. When, as you said, everything they want, they get. They raise their salaries.
Yeah.
They don't talk about the Fed. But anything they want, they get.
I can't wait for the Fed to go away. That's really,
Oh, yeah.
that's going to be key. That's going to be key. Let's see. My friend T. White Hat just said, Clinton facilitated the info sent to China. Latest arrest made for leaking info to China, and more is coming. T is an insider. Let's actually jump to that next story.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Hold on just a sec. I just need to copy the last article and then add it to the show notes. Okay, let's see. Oh, and I also need to say thank you to Patricia Furlong. Thank you very much for that super chat, Patricia. And then T also gave a super chat. Thanks, T. Appreciate that, buddy. Thanks for keeping us safe. Let's see. That's another part of that. Oh, the Christopher Steele. We haven't even gotten into Christopher Steele's testimony. Former Defense Intelligence Officer pleads guilty to attempted espionage. Is this it? Is this the right one?
This is my favorite one from today.
Yes. So Ron Rockwell Hansen, 58, a resident of Syracuse, Utah, and a former Defense Intelligence Agency officer, pled guilty today in the District of Utah in connection with his attempted transmission of national defense information to the People's Republic of China. Sentencing is set for September 24th, 2019. Assistant Attorney General for National Security John C. Demers, U.S. Attorney John Huber, I knew it, for the District of Utah, and Special Agent in Charge Paul Hertel of the FBI's Salt Lake City field office announced the charges. Hansen retired from the U.S. Army as a warrant officer with a background in signals intelligence and human intelligence. He speaks fluent Mandarin Chinese and Russian. DIA hired Hansen as a civilian intelligence case officer in 2006. Hansen held a top-secret clearance for many years and signed several non-disclosure agreements during his tenure at DIA and as a government contractor. As Hansen admitted in the plea agreement, in early 2014, agents of a Chinese intelligence service targeted Hansen for recruitment, and he began meeting with them regularly in China. During those meetings, the Chinese agents described to Hansen the type of information they would be interested for the Chinese intelligence service. During the course of his relationship with the agents of the Chinese intelligence service, Hansen received hundreds of thousands of dollars in compensation for information he provided them, including information he gathered at various industry conferences. Between May 24th of 2016 and June 2nd of 2018, Hansen solicited from an intelligence case officer working for the DIA national defense information that Hansen knew the Chinese intelligence service would find valuable. Hansen agreed to act as a conduit to sell that information to the Chinese. Hansen advised the DIA case officer how to record and transmit classified information without deception and explained how to hide and launder any funds received as payment for classified information. The DIA case officer reported Hansen's conduct to the DIA and subsequently acted as a confidential human source for the FBI. Thank God he did the right thing. As Hansen further admitted in the plea agreement, Hansen met with the DIA case officer on June 2nd, 2018, and received from that individual documents containing national defense information that Hansen previously solicited. The documents Hansen received were classified. The information in the documents related to the national defense of the United States, in that it related to the United States military readiness in a particular region and was closely held by the United States government. Hansen reviewed the documents, queried the DIA case officer about their contents, and took written notes about the materials during the national defense information. Hansen advised the DIA case officer that he would remember most of the details about the documents he received that day and would conceal some notes about the material in the text of an electronic document that Hansen would prepare at the airport before leaving for China. Hansen intended to provide the information he received to the agents of the Chinese intelligence service with whom he had been meeting, and Hansen knew that the information was to be used to the injury of the United States and to the advantage of a foreign nation. Hansen pled guilty to one count of attempting to gather or deliver national defense information to aid a foreign government. The plea agreement calls for an agreed-upon sentence of 15 years. Special agents of the FBI, IRS, U.S. Department of Commerce, the Department of Defense, U.S. Army Counterintelligence, and the DIA were involved in the investigation. Good stuff. So T says that there is more information to come. I can only imagine that perhaps this individual, Ron Rockwell Hansen, What do you think that he could have been a sealed indictment that has now been unsealed? And are there others involved in this type of information passing to the Chinese? Is that what white hat means, you think?
Oh, I think that, I mean, it seems like there's been a lot of talk of China being involved with a lot of things,
Yes.
potentially other senators and higher ups. And I think, I haven't been a historian of espionage arrests or prosecutions over the United States history since the Espionage Act of 1917, which I looked up as a result of seeing this. But this seems like a pretty big deal because I don't think there's a lot of espionage prosecutions. The last one was that is on Wikipedia. I know this is an exhaustive list, but you would think this would be some kind of huge news. And I think to anons, to people interested in what's going on, the real news, the You Are the News Now news, this is huge news that this was probably, I'm just guessing too, but probably a sealed indictment. The fact that it's someone selling information to China. The last arrest or the last prosecution of Espionage Act that I can find was that Reality Winner was her name.
Yeah, Reality Winner. That was everywhere. Yeah. That was everywhere.
It's quite a name.
Yeah.
And that was just for leaking information. This guy was freaking selling information to the Chinese.
This is Robert Hansen level stuff. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
Oh God, that was. I want to say I think I might have been in high school when that happened. He might have worked for the clowns, or maybe he worked for the FBI, but he was selling information to the Russians. So.
Oh yes, I just found it here. Yep, convicted under the act of spying for the Soviets in the 80s and
Yes.
Russia in the 90s.
Yep. So he had been doing it for years. He passed a lot of information. So maybe that's why they made such a bigger deal out of it. But I think you're right. I think that this needs to be front page news. And the reason it's probably not is because China has actively and covertly gone through all of these levels of American society, much like the clowns. And they've infiltrated. They've paid for influence.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And also this guy, he got a plea deal for, 15 years. That's a lot of time, but they could probably have nailed him for treason or something else. And if he got 15 years, he took a plea deal. I wonder if also part of that plea deal was to rat on other things and increase the rat population.
I tend to think so. I was just going to suggest that same thing. Also want to say thank you to Margaret Kahn. She says, free Schaefer Cox, innocent American political prisoner. That's so right. Also, Original Scoundrel, thank you very much for that super chat, for sure. People are loving the show tonight, Craig. This is great. We got to have you on again, for sure, in the future.
I'd love to. I'm having a great time.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Me too. All right, let me add this article to the show notes. And while I'm doing that, I just want to remind everybody, if you guys are interested in sending me a letter or anything to me physical, then you can go to the description in the bottom of the video, and you can see my P.O. box right there. I would love it if you guys sent me mail, even if it's just pictures of you guys wearing your gear from our favorite Anon. I also do want to say that our friend Lisa Lady, she's in the chat. It was her whose daughter was she was run over in a hit-and-run accident not that long ago, and her daughter was very severely injured. She is now on, basically confined to a bed. She's in physical therapy right now. They're working on getting her on some type of assistance for medical help, but it isn't there yet. So she has created a GoFundMe, and you can find that on my Twitter. If anybody feels like helping out, and contributing to that, then I'm sure it would be very, very much appreciated. Lisa's daughter also had 2 children who are now in the care of Lisa and her husband, their grandparents. So this next story from Fox News: court files reveal the role of McCain and his associate in spreading that anti-Trump dossier. This is some talk about juicy. This is the stuff that I love right here. So right now, this is from Adam Shaw at Fox News. Newly unsealed court filings show how the late Senator John McCain, or John McStain, or the one whose name we don't say, No Name McCain, and an associate shared with the FBI and a host of media outlets the unverified dossier that alleged the Russians had compromising information on now President Trump. McCain had denied being the source for BuzzFeed after it published the dossier, which was funded by the DNC and HRC's presidential campaign, but had acknowledged giving it to the FBI. In a newly unsealed declaration from September, former senior counterintelligence FBI agent Bill Priestap confirmed that the FBI received a copy of the first 33 pages of the dossier in December 2016 from McCain. Bill Priestap removed cooperating. Margaret Kahn also just said, thank you for showing Jordan Page's new song, The Persecution of Schaefer Cox. Not a problem, Margaret. It's a very moving, very, very moving video. I think maybe we'll play it again tonight at the end of the show because I really love that show. The song and the video is great too. So Craig, make sure you stick around with us till the end. You might as well at this point because we've already been on for an hour and 43 minutes.
Cool. Will do.
Yeah. Also, let's see. Oh, Moving Pictures finally made it. Love from Omaha, brother. Praying for you and your family. I'm praying for you too. Moving Pictures, didn't you say that you were in some kind of an accident as well, brother? I want everybody to pray for Moving Pictures too. You guys also, I had real quick, Craig, if you've listened to the show and you probably heard me talk about my dogs, Muffin is actually trying to get in the room right now, so I'm going to open up my door real quick.
Yeah, I heard that, and I wasn't sure if it was your dogs or my dogs. They're always trying to get in here at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. And I heard someone saying on, I don't know what forum it was, but they were saying, we don't care about the 100% perfect studio quality production value if you have a dog trying to get in the room. We just want the truth
right
from the discussions and the media we're having and listening to.
Very true, very true. My daughter got home, so she let them out, and then she closed the door after she took them out of the room to let them go potty. So, but yeah, Chi-Chi is back. Chi-Chi was scratching on the door for a little bit. He's been sitting in my lap for a few minutes. It was actually my cat, Simone, that was trying to get out. But earlier, over this past weekend, my daughter discovered, it looked like a tumor on Muffin's shoulder, and it was definitely not there just like a couple weeks ago. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so we made an emergency vet appointment. It was real stressful all weekend, because I had a dog that died of cancer previously, and that's how we got Muffin. Harley died from cancer. Cisco was then alone. He didn't have his best friend anymore. And, so Moving Pictures said it was a stroke, and my car was also in an accident, and my wife tore her rotator cuff and shoulder blade. Thankfully, my kiddos were fine. Oh, thank God. Yeah, thank God everybody's okay, man. I hope that you're on the mend. A stroke is no joke. Pro Dexter has said multiple times that Beto O'Rourke's writings have surfaced, and they show that he fantasized about doing harm to children. Very, very disturbing stuff. We are going to touch on that. Also, the Valiant One just said, RedPill78, my daily dose of humanity and smarts. MAGA. Thanks from Australia. Thank you so much. Annette Funicello, the Annette Funicello just gave us a super chat. She says 10. I don't know if she means the show is a 10 out of 10, but I appreciate it. I'll take it either way. Thank you for that. Yes, Patriot Lady Biker. Also, we want to be praying for Patriot Lady Biker. She also recently had a stay in the hospital. But you know what I love is that people are still coming to the show because it's that important. It's that important to figure out what's going on and get the information unfiltered, because, that's the reason I got rid of my cable years ago, is because I knew that I was not getting the information. It was, once you open up your mind, Craig, you can't shut it back down again. Everything that you look at, you see that it's a script. You see that it's everything's fake, and I love, that's why I love YouTube. That's why I love being able to come here, even though it's not as easy to get the information out unfiltered now. But it still is happening. Floriccio says the Dems will continue to create FFs that kill innocent people and destroy this country. If the right just sits back and only complains about it, where is our yellow vest protest? Enough is enough already. I agree, Flor. Personally, I think that the reason that that I am allowing this to happen is because I've been watching this happen for so long, and I see the slow, gradual progression of what's going on. Yes, unfortunately, people are falling along the way, but our president, Craig, what do you think about this? We're playing chess here. It's not checkers. It's a game of chess. It's 4D chess. The president has made every single move in a very calculated manner. He's using strategy here. It's game theory. All right. You can't just run into the room, with your pistols blazing and expect that it's going to end up the way that you want it to. You have to remove the methods of control from these people one brick at a time.
Oh yeah, it is absolutely game theory. It's definitely 3 or 4D chess and not checkers. And it makes me think of, when I think of game theory, I used to be a professional poker player many years ago.
No way.
And yeah, and and the game theory involved in that is basically the idea that, in poker, if the way you can do better is when your opponents make mistakes, and the way they make mistakes is when they don't know what you have. And Trump is making them make a bunch of mistakes,
Yes,
because they don't know what he has and what his plans are. And if you vary up what your play is given a certain situation, if they can't guess that when you're doing a countdown or you give a date, if it actually means you're going to do something or not. Like, 11-11, people were disappointed, but that was just game theory optimization is all that was.
right.
Or the other lead up saying, then they expend their ammunition because they don't know if sometimes when you deliver something, when you drop a bit of a hammer, you go on the attack or stay on the defensive, it keeps them guessing. They don't know what you have. And I was thinking about, they are not in control. The military is under, as Trump said today, or not Trump, but our favorite Anon said today, that there's unity. Trump said that we have, the military's on our side, even the bikers in America are on our side, the people, we have control, and we're the ones that are running this chess game, making the rules. So you're going to lose because we can see your cards, you can't see our cards. It's just a matter of tuckering them out. And as Sun Tzu said, the ultimate victory is to defeat your opponent without fighting. And I think that's all this is that they're being defeated is just being taken down slowly but surely instead of an all-out war, like you see, just barging in there, guns blazing. As Trump said not too long ago, if I were to declass this 6 months ago, it would be forgotten about by now.
Yep.
So
Yep.
He's just doing it slowly but surely, doing the sale to the American people, to the world, that, hey, I'm not a bad guy. It's the fake news and the deep state who are the bad guys.
Yep, exactly. We've got them on the run. Okay,
Yes.
they don't know what's happening. They are so panicked, and every time we have these dates or these the insinuation that something's going to happen, they expend this stuff in their arsenal. And each time that happens, they just it reduces their power. I also want to say thank you to my friend Rosanna. Rosanna gave me a donation on the Cash app, which was very generous. Thank you very much, Rosanna. I appreciate that. If anybody ever wants to give a donation that does not go through YouTube, then the information for that is in the description below as well. I use the Cash app. It's a great way to send money back and forth between people. I used to be... I used to do websites, and so I would frequently do work remotely for people, and you can just send a payment to somebody and there's no fees like there is on PayPal, so that's nice. And then I also accept digital assets, even though I've only gotten a couple of Litecoin donations, maybe some Ether, but I think it's important to have it as an option because there are people out there who really do use it. Okay, so right here in this newly unsealed declaration from September, former senior counterintelligence FBI agent Bill Priestap confirmed that the FBI received a copy of that first 33 pages from McCain. In another filing, David Kramer, a former State Department official and McCain associate, this is the guy who passed it to BuzzFeed, said in his December 13th, 2017 deposition that the dossier was given to him by author and former British spy Christopher Steele, which he then provided to more than a dozen journalists at outlets including CNN, BuzzFeed, and The Washington Post. And these details were first reported by the Daily Caller. We reported that here on this channel when that first happened. Now, the report was also shared with State Department official Victoria Nuland, Obama National Security Council official Celeste Wallander, and Representative Adam Kinzinger of Illinois. The filings were unsealed as part of an ongoing libel case against BuzzFeed by a Russian businessman. In his deposition, Kramer said that McCain gave a copy of the dossier to then FBI Director James Comey on December 9th. Kramer told investigators that it was the sense from Fusion GPS founder Glenn Simpson that having Senator McCain provide it to the FBI would give it a little more oomph than it had up until that point. He was trying to legitimize it by having the information pass through McCain. And McCain was all too ready to legitimize that information because he hated Trump. He could not deal with the idea that McCain could not get into office, but that Trump could do it. McCain was a very egotistical and self-serving individual.
No doubt about it. It's just one more brick in the wall of this just all being a total hoax.
Yep. I have a couple of different people that also messaged me on Twitter just saying thank you for giving the shout outs on there. My buddy Simeon, he went to the range for the first time today in quite a long time and knocked off 2,000 rounds. He sent me pictures of his shoulder. It looks like raw meat.
That's commitment.
Oh, that is commitment. Yeah. All right. Let me see. Somebody else had sent something. Oh yeah, this is some more information about that plane, the crash. We'll get to that in a little bit here if we got time. We've only got 7 minutes left. I think we're gonna have to cut it at 2 hours because otherwise nobody else will watch it once I publish it. But let's see. So here also at the end it says that the FBI extensively relied on the dossier and its warrantless applications to the FISA court in seeking to surveil Trump aide Carter Page, even though some of the dossier's claims, if not all of the dossier's claims, have been called into question, including a claim that former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen traveled to Prague, which we know never happened. Now, what's interesting is that the argument about the dossier and the information contained herein, then you've got the case against Manafort. They just threw Manafort in prison for 7.5 years. That guy's probably going to die in prison. But the information against Manafort was obtained from a Ukrainian lawmaker who is now being tried in Ukraine for interfering with the election here in the United States. So what they're saying that Manafort are trying to conflate the issue by saying that Manafort traded this polling data with these people in Ukraine, and that that somehow makes Manafort a much more awful bad guy. But then they're using the same tactic to try to give Manafort a stiffer sentence. It's like this reciprocal thing between the United States and Ukraine. There was a lot of that went on when they had the unrest in Ukraine a couple years ago. I don't know. Back then, I used to watch Vice News. Vice News on YouTube was great. They were unbiased. They showed all of these torn up areas across the globe. And it was, I used to think about it, wow, if that happened here, how scary would that be? But it was great to see it and, kind of get an idea of their tactics, because you could really see that stuff playing out in the Obama administration as well. The types of disinformation that they were using. Having the controlled opposition, they took that movement from Ukraine, the anti-fascist movement, and they imported it here to America. And I feel like I was a lot more ready for it because I had seen it at play previously.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing what's going on with Manafort and them trying to do that with greater sentences. But I think it might come back to bite them in the rear in the long run, because this whole Mueller probe and getting people for these crimes that, they want to make it seem like it's Russian collusion.
Yeah.
But it's just, FARA not registering as a foreign agent.
Right.
And old tax crimes, which, yes, I don't know if they're prosecuting crimes for FARA, but they put people in jail for old tax crimes. But they've kind of gotten this information from questionable means.
Yeah.
And now we're going to go back, and when the prosecutions really start, with Huber, et cetera, as our favorite anonymous said, they're going to claim political attack. And first of all, the crimes are going to be like 1,000 times worse. And second of all, I think that Manafort, I don't know if he's going to end up getting pardoned or not, but he's taking a big one for the team to say, look, you put these people, and you put Manafort that you found through your probe in jail. He could die in jail. And so this is fair. This is not political attack. There's actual evidence for this.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this is it's just it's a great sale, or a great thing to fall back on and say, this is fair.
The thing about it is that everything that Manafort was convicted for, he was exonerated of many years ago by Rod Rosenstein. Okay, Rod Rosenstein was.
I didn't realize that.
Oh yes, oh yes. You know, and then you've also got the oh god, what was I gonna say? I just lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, where's Tony Podesta? Where is Tony Podesta? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
You know, because he's guilty of everything that Manafort was just convicted of, and on a much greater scale.
Exactly. Yes. And that's one more great example of how these people are full of it, and how there's two tiers of justice. When someone like that walks free, and got Manafort, it's like the evidence is so hard to keep track of it. There's so much that these people are just corrupt to the core, and they are unrelenting in trying to seek power and do whatever they can to convince people that they're not what they actually that they are, what they pretend they're not, and they aren't what they say they are.
Yes, yes, yes. Now, the next story that I've got pulled up here from the Gateway Pundit, it's happening. My favorite phrase. Sean Hannity said the deep state's day of reckoning is about to break wide open. We've got video here. Sean Hannity invited John Solomon, Greg Jarrett, and Representative Jim Jordan onto the show to discuss the ongoing deep state attempted coup on President Donald Trump. During the discussion on the latest leaked Peter Strzok testimony, Sean asked the panel if they think the deep state's day of reckoning is about to break wide open. They all agreed that it soon would. Let's go ahead and take a listen to the video.
There's no evidence of any collusion. But then I'm also hearing, well, what's the IG going to come out about FISA abuse? What is John Uber doing? Does anybody even know?
You know, I think there's a new sheriff in town with the new Attorney General, Bill Barr, and I think a lot of things are changing internally in the Justice Department. We can't see them, but Andrew Weissman's departure today is an example of the overturn and change that we're going to see in the next few months. I think the single most important thing that will happen, as soon as Bob Mueller's report comes in, as soon as the president is no longer in legal jeopardy, it's incumbent upon the president to declassify those documents. Yes. Let us see the FBI's true activity for what it is, not for what it was made to look like for a 2-year mirage.
Testimony saying no, it was the DOJ, and Lisa Page said, yep, they told us to stand down on Hillary Clinton.
Will Congress, we've got to believe that the Attorney General now, Lynch, we've got to see her emails, we've got to see her correspondence, we've got now that it's pointing in that direction. And I also think we have a legitimate question. What did President Obama know? When did he know it? Jim.
No, I agree, Sean. Never forget the code names they gave him. The Clinton Clinton investigation was called the mid-year exam. The Trump-Russia investigation was called Crossfire Hurricane. That shows you the bias that existed right from the get-go.
All right. Do you all agree with this statement? You can shake your heads. This is about to break wide open, and many of these players are about to see a day of reckoning. Yes or no? Shake your head.
Yes.
My sources are telling me the same. All right, stay tuned. We were right from the get-go.
And we all know Hannity has the best sources.
Oh, yeah, Hannity does. John Solomon does. And it's amazing how confident you can just see in his face, see in their faces. They know what's going on. They're not going to say out loud, just like you just say our favorite or not. They're not going to say it, but they know. They know what's going on. That's part of the beauty of this whole movement and all these kind of, where we go on, these messages. You can convey a whole set of meaning and a mindset with just a simple nod that they know, we know, they know, and everyone's starting to know. And it's amazing what's happening.
We know that they know that we know.
Exactly. He doesn't have to say the word, but we know what he's thinking. He knows what's going on behind the scenes.
Yes, exactly. And then
with confidence too.
Yes, with great confidence. And then of course we know that Lindsey Graham has now pledged FISA abuse hearings. This is gonna be incredible right here. Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham pledged March 14th that he will hold hearings to get to the bottom of whether the FBI misled the surveillance court judges by using the Steele dossier to obtain spy warrants against a former Trump campaign advisor. We know that they did mislead the court. Carter Page was an informant for the FBI. He was helping bring down Russian organized crime. And they used that, they twisted it to portray it to the FISA court as if he was an agent of Russia, when in fact he was doing the bidding of the FBI the whole time. Lindsey said, "I promise everybody in the country that in the Senate we're going to have hearings about the FISA process," Graham said at a Heritage Foundation event. Now, Graham, a Republican, is focused on how the FBI handled the dossier, which was written by Christopher Steele, a former British spy who investigated President Donald Trump on behalf of the Clinton campaign and the DNC. The FBI relied heavily on Steele's dossier to obtain those 4 FISA warrants against Carter Page. In the dossier, Steele alleged that Page met with Kremlin insiders during the 2016 campaign. Steele also accused Page of working with Trump campaign Paul Manafort to conspire with the Russians. We know that didn't happen. Let's take a listen right quick to this video here. Oh, no, it's the whole video. I thought it was going to be a segment, but it is the whole panel from the Heritage Foundation. I would love to have been there for that. Graham and other Republicans have argued that the FBI failed to disclose Steele's political motivations. We know that Steele really did not want Trump to win. It's also been leaked that Steele had pre-existing relationships not only with the FBI, but also with the clowns. He and Simpson and Nellie Orr, they had met years prior. They were on a panel discussing these issues, and they had been in cahoots with each other for many years. Now, they say, did the court adequately know the source of the document? Without the document, could you have gotten the warrant? Of course not. This is a very big deal. Republicans have also pointed to congressional testimony from Bruce Orr, who served as Steele's back channel to the FBI. He told lawmakers in August that Steele told him in 2016 that he was desperate that Trump not win the election. Orr also told the FBI and Justice Department officials about Steele's remarks. They completely ignored them. Lindsey says we're going to have to get to the bottom of that the best we can, and we'll do other stuff too. Other stuff. What other stuff are they going to be doing, Craig? What do you think?
Oh man, there's 80,000 sealed indictments. So
yes.
It's going to be plenty of things, but it's
no shortage.
It feels like it's happening now, but it's just it's like the happening with all of the drops we've seen over the last 2 years. It seems like people are insinuating, or Favorite Anon has insinuated, that that's going to be the script for the next year and a half or however long it's going to be, and it's in the process of essentially red pilling the entire world about what's going on.
Yes.
There's just unlimited crimes, unlimited things that are going to come out, and it's so fun. But I don't know about you, but Lindsey Graham is like the most fun person to watch, just unleashed.
Oh yeah,
just talking about how they're the questions of Kavanaugh, about the way they're going to try people, and say, oh yeah, we're gonna have FISA hearings. You better believe it. Which also confirms what our favorite Anon said about, they wrap up the investigations in the House, they're going to the Senate, so we don't need the House. They can be the freak show of Democrats that they are, and we can continue with our work in the Senate and continue to expose them.
Exactly.
And it's going to be great.
Yeah. So here is actual text from the letter that Lindsey sent to Attorney General Barr. As an excerpt, during a recent interview on 60 Minutes, former acting director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Andrew McCabe, explained how Deputy AG Rod Rosenstein discussed with him and others within the Department of Justice the possibility of removing the president by invoking the 25th Amendment. In addition, Mr. McCabe described how the Deputy AG, in a manner that was absolutely serious, offered to wear a wire into the White House to record the president and gather evidence against him. He continued, the committee is deeply concerned with these discussions and whether they essentially indicate that 2 of the highest-ranking law enforcement officials in the United States were discussing what amounts to a coup against the president. Accordingly, the committee plans to conduct oversight into these discussions and related matters. This was clearly a coup against the president. And
Clearly,
I really do believe that Rod Rosenstein was running a sting operation on these guys, because anybody who would enter into conversations like this must have been aware. And with the president and Rod Rosenstein, the close relationship they had, if you notice, anytime something happened where it looked like Rod Rosenstein was done, the next thing you know, him and Trump are having a private meeting. They're
coming off the plane looking like he just had a day at the spa.
Right? Exactly. So I really do think that Rod Rosenstein, at worst was playing both sides, but that he was giving good intel to the president, and that he was working on putting these people in a position so that they could not back out of it. Now, next story. This is about the doxing during the Kavanaugh hearings. The suspect in the Kavanaugh confirmation doxing has Feinstein ties, allegedly possessed Senate data, and the DOJ may hide the details, the Daily Caller alleges. Former Senate aide accused of doxing Republicans during the Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation hearing allegedly possessed troves of information, including Senate data, and this is indicated in the court proceedings. Now, a Senate aide charged with doxing Republican senators and extorting a witness comes from an elite family with ties to Senator Dianne Feinstein, the top Democrat on the Judiciary Committee. Prosecutors signaled Tuesday that they might give the aide Jackson Costco a plea deal that would prevent the facts of the case from ever being learned publicly. During Justice Brett Kavanaugh's September 2008 confirmation hearing, Costco, a former IT aide who once managed Democratic's New Hampshire Senator Maggie Hassan's office computer accounts, allegedly posted to Wikipedia the home addresses of Republican senators who supported the Supreme Court justice. He said, "I own everything," Costco told a Hassan aide who caught him in the act, according to prosecutors. "If you tell anyone, I will leak it all. Email, signal, conversations, Gmails." Information revealed in court since then suggested that he might not have been a bluff. U.S. District Judge Thomas Hogan on January 24th said Costco allegedly possessed terabytes of information, including Senate data so sensitive it could not be discussed in open court. He downloaded more information than was originally understood. There is no combination of conditions that could ensure the safety of the community, Hogan said in December 2018. Prosecutors underscored that he was a flight risk and that they had concerns he would engage in obstruction of justice. I actually did a video on this originally way back then. And there's a note where he had written down contest of who to dox next. And then he's got a list, YouTube and Twitter below there. Like how should he be releasing it, YouTube or Twitter? Costco, a supporter of Democratic Socialist Bernie Sanders, is the son of an enormously wealthy and politically connected California family with ties to Feinstein. Republicans suggested the California Democrat leaked a letter soon before Kavanaugh's confirmation hearing that alleged the Supreme Court justice sexually assaulted Christine Blasey Ford. The suspect's father, Greg Costco, is the CEO of Hathaway Dinwiddie, a massive construction company that built a university building named after Feinstein's husband. He serves on the board of San Francisco State University alongside Willie Brown, the California politician who he had helped make the career of California's other Democratic Senator Kamala Harris with an illicit affair. As former chairman of the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce, Greg Costco hobnobbed with then Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, Feinstein, and others. The elder Costco's adult son appears to have made inroads in Washington via an internship with Feinstein. Jackson Costco appears to have absconded with vast troves of data months before the hearing, and even allegedly had Senate letterhead. Even after he was caught, he continued to make threats, Hogan said. There's been some complex discovery with terabytes of information. The defendant is cooperating, but the government isn't convinced that he is fully cooperative. Sounds like they think he's probably got some kill switches set up. Some of what was provided under discovery is Senate information. The Senate is subject to a privilege called speech and debate, he said at a January court date before closing the proceedings to the public. The speech and debate clause gives congressmen a forum of limited immunity against lawsuits and criminal prosecution, and congressmen sometimes use it to prevent their information from being used as evidence in court cases. At December and January court dates, Hogan barred the Daily Caller News Foundation from the courtroom as lengthy proceedings went on, even though Costco's mother was allowed to stay. The judge assured that what was said would become public eventually. But this week, Prosecutors said they intend to resolve the case with a plea deal, likely shielding the extent of the alleged breach of the Senate forever. They canceled a court date set for Thursday, writing, "The parties are in discussions to resolve the case and require additional time for that purpose." Asked if that meant the evidence of major crimes discussed behind closed doors would never be unsealed, prosecutor Tejpal S. Chawla said, "We'll see." Democrats had numerous opportunities to prevent Costco from his alleged breach on the Senate's IT systems. Notwithstanding their stated indignation about the hacking of the Democratic National Committee, Hassan hired Costco despite an existing felony record. That's incredible. Months before Republican senators were doxxed during the Kavanaugh hearing, Hassan asked Costco to resign, though she has refused to say on what grounds. It's not clear if the former aide's so-called super user credentials were ever deactivated. Congressional officials previously told the DCNF that IT aides have the keys to the kingdom and the ability to see all the computer files in an office. Compounding matters, Representative Sheila Jackson Lee picked up Costco after he was booted from Hassan's office. The Texas Democrats' office refused to say whether she checked with Hassan as a reference or did a criminal background check. Feinstein was previously accused of having a Chinese spy working in her California office, but allowed him to retire and covered it up. He was never criminally charged, helpful in avoiding media attention. And she never discussed it publicly until it leaked out years later. Even then, she refused to name him and falsely characterized him as simply a driver. He is still working in the United States. I can't believe that. I mean, I can believe it, but I'm still, I'm upset about it.
It's hard to believe that the Democrats are having, let's say, loose policies when it comes to their IT.
Yeah. Well, and especially because with the fact that these people have access to absolutely everything on these senators and representatives' computers. I think that they probably have lots and lots of blackmail material. That'd probably be the first thing that I would do if I got into IT in the Senate. I'd immediately go and I would look for blackmail material. So then you can't ever be fired. I mean, that's what the Awans did.
Yeah, the life insurance file, like Wiener.
Yep, the life insurance file. Exactly. And we know that Sheila Jackson Lee is as dirty as they come. She's horrible person.
Have you seen that picture of her wearing that ring?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely seen it. If you guys don't know, we've talked about it here on the program multiple times. Just do a search for Sheila Jackson Lee ring. And it'll show up. And you'll recognize that symbol and you know exactly what it's about. Carissa just says, always a great show. Thank you for your work. Thank you very much for your donation, Carissa, and thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. Let me add the Feinstein spy, another Feinstein spy. But here's the thing. I think that they knew well in advance of the information that Costco had, and they allowed him to remain out in public without any type of attention or charges being brought against him, because they knew that he was going to be a useful idiot once it came time to threaten the Republicans, especially during those Kavanaugh hearings, because they were hoping to dox these people or threaten them with doxing, so that they would not vote in favor of Kavanaugh. But it didn't work because they had morals.
Yes, which they never expected anybody to have that or have the ability to stand up and stand on those morals and not have the ability to strong arm them and actually have consequences, not to have someone that is willing to be in a position of power like Trump or the military and protect those people who are willing to stand up, like whistleblowers who would have an accident or whatever the case was if they actually tried to do the right thing.
Yep.
Now they can actually do it and survive.
Yes. And another thing is that I think that in the same way that us as as law-abiding citizens, as conservatives, I think that sometimes we tend to think that people are going to have the same moral fiber as we do, many people do. And in the same way, I think Democrats assume that other people they're dealing with are going to have the same low moral character as they do. So,
oh yeah, that is so true.
Yeah,
that projection goes every direction. I noticed it when someone pointed out to me that people that are accusing you of things are often doing what they're accusing you of. But I didn't realize for a long time after that oftentimes you assume other people are going to do what you would do in that situation when they would actually do something that is quite different.
Yes, definitely, definitely. So the next story I have pulled up is the devastating and hilarious Beto attack ad. This is good for fun, you guys. It takes aim at his lack of skateboarding skills. Like, do you remember when he was running against Ted Cruz? They portrayed him as this kind of like punk rock skateboarder from his days when he was in like a punk band or whatever. But apparently Beto can't skate. Beto doesn't know how to skate. There was this famous video of him just like, riding a board like in a really easy loop around a parking lot. And if you can stand on a skateboard, you can do that move. It's not even a move. It's just, basic balance. But I've got this parody attack ad I want to go ahead and play because it's hilarious.
There's a lot of things you can call Beto O'Rourke. Congressman, Texan, charismatic political sensation. But there's one thing that we shouldn't be calling him.
He is essentially skater boy Jack Kerouac.
He likes to ride out into his venues on a skateboard.
Growing up as you did as a skater in the punk scene.
Beto O'Rourke is not a good skateboarder. Not even close. The way he handles his board, it's like he's a nervous little kid.
Anybody who had one cool friend in middle school could do what Beto did that night in that fast food parking lot. It's not impressive.
Beto might be goofy, but when it comes to the idea that he's a skater, he's definitely riding fakie.
When you think about just how bad Beto is on the stuntwood, I don't even know if he's the best skater in the Dem primaries. Kamala Harris might be better, or blunt slide Bernie Sanders. Even tail drag Tulsi Gabbard could probably skate circles around our friend Tight Trucks Beto.
But even if he was a great skater, Beto still wouldn't be my pick for president. That would be the GOAT, Brian Anderson.
Let's look at BA's record. Hall of Fame tray flip. Front one at Hubba Hideout. First openly gay skater of the year.
Compare that to bad skater Beto. Owned D3s in 1999. Went to Zoomies and spent $27 on stickers. Took his friend Sector 9 in the swimming pool and ruined it. Hit an acorn once and hurt his ankle. Did politics.
Brian Anderson should be president. Beto should be president of a Pacific Sunway.
We call on Beto to make an announcement. Take the stage within the next 48 hours and tell the entire world, I do not skate. The only claim I can really make is that I like Bart Simpson. I never paid my dues to the concrete. What I did is worse than Watergate.
Skate lives aside, Beto has other problems, such as he's way too handsome.
Too handsome to be president, it says. So I used to skate in middle school, and so it's just it struck me as very funny because Beto is the epitome of fake. Okay, he's not Hispanic. All right, he was in a DUI. Not that anybody can't make a mistake, but the guy tried to drive away. Okay, like come on, man. Everything about Beto is totally built around this myth. Now, this next article that I have is apparently about Beto O'Rourke's secret membership in America's oldest hacking group. So he was part of this group that I guess hacked a bunch of things. Like they stole long distance phone service. Did you ever read? There's a particular cookbook that might have been popular.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I never read it, but I know what you're referring to.
Okay, yeah. So there was all these things in there. Like you used to be able to create this box, and you could make you use it to like go to a payphone. It plays the series of tones, and it gives you it gives you the ability to steal long distance phone calls.
It's funny you mentioned this because our favorite Anon made a reference to the movie Hackers
yes,
yesterday.
Yes.
And they do that in that movie. I don't even seen that movie, but it's in a way terrible, but in a way it's like a stone cold classic.
Yes.
They do that in there.
It's like it's cringeworthy. It's great to watch because there's a lot of laughs in it. But and then there's also like you could make like a saltwater solution and squirt it into like the dollar bill or the change thing on an old pop machine, and then it would spit out a bunch of pops for you because all that's doing is you're just completing an electrical circuit when you drop your quarter into it or something. Oh, yeah, hilarious. But yeah, Beto, he's a fake. He's a big fake. I'm not even going to throw him in the show notes. I just wanted to put it out there. Oh, here's an update on the Tony Pastini case. Do you know about Tony Pastini?
No.
He was the pilot of that plane that crashed in Yorba Linda, California. It fell out of the sky on Super Bowl Sunday. And somebody just said it's called a cha-chinger, and my friend had one. It's the hacking device that Beto made. So he was a pilot, and he fell out of the sky. Here, I'll read the article. So Jordan Aaron, that was his real name. He was the president of the president of a Carson City sushi restaurant who once ran for justice of the peace in Arizona. Antonio Pastini was the brash ex-Chicago cop who befriended a brothel mogul. He was really good friends with what's his name? He owned the Bunny Ranch. The guy who owned the Bunny Ranch in Las Vegas. They made an HBO show about him, and he was running for a representative in Las Vegas, and then he mysteriously died of like a heart attack, like just a couple of days before the election, and then he actually won. He still won even though he was dead. So this guy had multiple identities. He was Jordan Aaron. He was Tony Pastini. He was a fake Chicago cop. When he died, they found his badge in the plane crash. He used 2 names and 2 social security numbers. He kept different driver's licenses and bank accounts under the 2 names. He used different identities in multiple court filings. He used these identities to hide money. But he hung out with a lot of police officers, and he would portray himself as a police officer. But out of the smoldering records, they pulled the badge for retired Chicago patrolman number 15599. It was reported stolen back in Chicago a couple decades ago, back in 1978. He was never a cop. He was a pilot who had routinely been in trouble with the FAA. But he loved cops, and he knew how to work them. He knew how to talk and act like them. Now, they say that this investigation is going to take, possibly 18 months or longer. They're going to have to scrutinize his medical records, the 3 days leading up to the crash to see if there was any, overriding events that might have added to it, like fatigue or high-stress events. They don't think it was a suicide, but, they can't rule that out yet. And they say there's a lot of weird people who fly airplanes, but it doesn't mean that it had anything to do with how they fly. But in January morning of 1977, Pastini was flying from Las Vegas to Long Beach when the weather turned icy. Clouds and fog made it difficult to fly by sight alone, and rather than turning back or changing his route, he falsely told air traffic control that he was instrument rated and finished the flight. A judge called his indifference to airspace rules a potential threat to himself, his passenger, and other users in the system, and his pilot's license was suspended for 120 days. 3 years later, his plane was found behind on inspections, carrying an expired temporary registration and leaking fluid from a brake. He lost his license for 30 days then. Richard Witry, the attorney for the FAA, who prosecuted Pastini in the earlier incident, said the offense showed he had a cavalier attitude toward his responsibility as a pilot in command of his private aircraft. He told air traffic a vital fact that wasn't true, and he knows he's not instrument rated. That's bad news. That's how accidents happen. For years, Pastini restaurants were favorited by cops. He enjoyed being known as one of them, both for the camaraderie it inspired with Nevada police and the boost it delivered to his business. He gave discounts to police officers who brought their families to eat. He held fundraisers for cops who'd been mailed letter packages that could have gotten them hurt. He was shot by stick-up men, he said. No, this is just incidents that happened to cops. A wall in his Reno deli was covered in police patches. After he died and federal investigators identified him as a former Chicago cop, the Chicago Police Department, the police union, and an association of retired police officers declared that no one named Antonio Pastini was ever a city police officer. That applied to 2 other names Pastini had also used, they said, and that badge was reported missing back in 1978. Pastini's nephew, Gary Willis, insisted that his uncle truly was a police officer, and that he had perfectly legitimate reasons to change his name. He would not say what those reasons were, beyond suggesting his uncle wanted to start a new life after leaving police work. When law enforcement officers leave that lifestyle, they want to leave it behind. They're done with that life. That may be the reason to change the names. Well, it sounds like he didn't really want to leave it behind. because he was telling everybody that he was a cop. He had friends who were police officers. He used it to his advantage in his business. He definitely traded in the myth that he was a police officer. But when Pastini opened a string of delis in Nevada early 90s, he openly touted his law enforcement background. He told the Reno Gazette-Journal he had retired in '86 as the rank of detective sergeant after 17 years with the Chicago police. Dennis Hoff. Dennis Hoff was the guy who was the brothel owner in Nevada. He regaled reporters with a life story of straddling both sides of the law as a criminal and as a cop. He recalled a boyhood of battling the neighborhood Germans and running with a greased group of thugs. He told reporters he was a Marine who had been stationed in Japan, acclaimed the Marines dispute. As a businessman, Pastini sued a columnist for saying the beef hot dogs he sold were made of pork. He wrote fuming letters to newspapers that dared to publish failed health inspections of his delis. He also ran a side business, speaking of failing his health inspections, he ran a side business of telling people, of showing people, teaching them how to operate within the rules of the health inspectors, how to operate your restaurant and be within those codes. Now, everything that I've learned about Tony Pastini, Craig, screams to me that he was some type of, maybe a contract agent. He had a lifestyle very similar to Barry Seal to me. He was a pilot. He would crisscross the nation. He had multiple identities, both within and outside of law enforcement. So this whole thing about Tony Pastini seems dirty to me. And then the fact that he was also running around with the brothel owner. Now, also the plane that he was flying, he may have had these, incidents in the past with, failed inspections and, shoddy upkeep on his planes. But this was a nice little jet that he was flying here. It was like a really nice private plane. And he would routinely fly the girls around the country as long as they paid for the fuel on these planes. And at Dennis Hoff's 72nd birthday, Tony Pastini was there. He was caught on footage. And TMZ released this footage in the days after Dennis Hoff died. What's interesting is that Dennis Hoff was not a drug user. He didn't drink. His only vice was the women that worked with him. So it was definitely suspect, especially to me, when he passed away just right before he was scheduled to win this election there in Nevada. I think that he was probably looking to unseat some very important people there. But yeah, just everything about Jordan Aaron, Tony Pastini, whatever you want to call him. He had even more identities that myself and one of my investigators tracked down. Very, 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 very interesting.
Yeah, it is, and we're seeing how often there are people that are working for someone and have these strange stories, strange things they do,
yep.
And then strange things happen around them. I mean, it seems like it was out of science fiction or The Bourne Identity or something like that, but now we're realizing, all this stuff that people said, that's crazy. I mean, it's out there.
It's real.
It's out there.
Yeah, it's real. It happens so much. And we are, it's that, again, that phenomenon of opening your mind and taking a look and allowing yourself to perceive this stuff. Like how it makes me just think about how many times in the past, these things have come across our doorstep or across, our news feeds. And, and now we're realizing more and more that these are just agents, of some agency or contractors working in these non-official covers. My guest, Mr. W, who I was going to try and have him on tonight, but I didn't anticipate we were going to be talking this long. He's had a lot of experience with this stuff. He said that everything is so compartmentalized within the government. You've got, people running operations, and then you've got people that are working for the people running the operations. So then you get into a situation where people could be, working within the same operation, but they're working for different people and they're compartmentalized and they don't even realize it. So you might think you're a good guy, but maybe you're actually running working an op for somebody who's a bad guy, but you don't even know because everything is compartmentalized so much.
Yeah, when you're dealing in the trade of deception and lies, you never know who knows what, and you never know what you told who. You have to remember a lot of stuff, or you don't know who else is lying, and it turns into a mess eventually, it seems.
Yes, it does. All right, well, Craig, we've been on for 2.5 hours, buddy, so I'm going to call it because I need to take the dogs outside. Chi-Chi needs to go potty. He's telling me right now. But
yeah, mine's going to be like he's ready for dinner, so
yeah, totally. Okay, well, listen, I just wanted to say thank you for coming on, man. I definitely want to have you on again. This was awesome. I think that we could probably do this quite often. So you let me know the next time you want to come on, or if you got anything specific that you want to talk about. Do you have any of your own stuff that you want to plug before we say goodbye?
Oh, sure, yeah. Thank you for having me. The 2.5 hours went quickly, and I appreciate what you're doing. I'd love to come back. And yeah, I talk about philosophy and how things that are going on in the world, like our favorite Anon and our favorite president, how that affects our lives. And I've kind of gone down the rabbit hole of studying a lot of that stuff for a while. And I like to talk about it in whatever aspect that I think is useful to our day-to-day lives. So if you'd like to subscribe to my channel, I can promise you YouTube might give you notifications. Definitely. Thanks for having me on, man. I really enjoyed it. I'd love to do it again.
Great. Awesome. I did too. Everybody, I'm going to throw Craig's bona fides here into the chat. There's Craig's YouTube, his Twitter, as well as his own personal website, which I need to get my own website up. It's just the time that goes into it. Everybody, hit that like button before you leave. I don't know how many likes we've got. If anybody wants to give me a count, I would appreciate that. But once again, Craig, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone in the chat, thanks for sticking around. We were pretty steady at around 2,000 viewers the whole time. That was great. So as always, I am RedPill78, the corruption detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. Thanks again for joining us, Craig. We'll talk to you next time, buddy.
Thanks. Have a great night, everybody.
Yep. See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks again, guys. Love you all. Take it easy. If I can stop the stream.